All right, and we are.
I'm dancing, you just can't see.
It's catchy music. All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to our special live Indie Corner session, Meet the Devs. So you guys already know me. I'm Jason, obvious host of Indie Corner. So we're just going to do a roundtable, introduce you to who we have with us. So, of course, we have the Shawn Long from Nintendo Enthusiasts.
Yo, what up?
And then we have Yanni from Fuzzy Wuzzy Games, developer behind Armillo.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Next up, we have. Oh man, I got. Sorry, I had to mute that. Next up, we have Eli from TreeFall Studios, developer who.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to our special live Indie Corner session. About that feedback. And next up, we have Trent Steen from Indie Corner. So we're just going to do a roundtable. Tunnel Entertainment, working on Shapes of Grey. So, of course, we have the Shawn Long from Nintendo Enthusiasts.
Yo, what up?
Okay. You guys mute your YouTube channels. Fuzzy Wuzzy. Okay, and next we have Mario Castaneda from Prismatic Games, who's working on Hex Heroes. Oh, man,
Hey, what's up?
Next up, Jonathan Meyer from Actos Games, working on Psyscrolr.
Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Then we have Greg Wiggleton from Zenfa Productions, working on ZaciSa's Last Stand.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
And finally, we have Cordero Wilson from Fingergun Games, who's working on Stoneshire with us.
Hi.
Here, Cordero. And we're still waiting on Gabriel from Nascent Games. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it. If not, no problems. We have plenty of other developers who might come in and fill in some spots. But otherwise, we're good to start. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to just type them down below in the YouTube comments. Shawn or myself will find them, and we will pass them up to the devs. So I guess we're going to start off just really simple discussion. I have a few questions for Cordero from Fingergun Games. So I think you guys have the most recent game announcement out of the, how many devs are we here? 7 devs with us. You're working on Stoneshire, seeing a lot of influence from Minecraft. So how about you give us a little bit highlight of what Stoneshire is about in your own words and what you guys hope to do with it?
Well, first off, we plan to make Stoneshire basically be the successor to Minecraft on Nintendo Wii U. Of course, if we try to just copy Minecraft totally, people are going to expect so much from us and expect, you know, basically for it to be Minecraft from 1 to 1. So we're basically using it as an influence, and we're going to build off of it to make something better, basically, from it.
All right, now you were saying that there's going to be like new elements like elves, dwarves, what else we got? Elves, dwarves.
Elves, dwarves, halflings, and humans, of course. Humans.
Right. So is that going to be like just a simple like different skins, or are you going to give them like their own unique abilities?
They're all going to have their different perks. I mean, they're not going to be too large. You know, we want to keep this game as simple as possible. But they all are meant to give a different experience. Like for instance, dwarves are supposed to be focused on mining because that's what dwarves do. And to help that, they can see better in the dark. So
right.
you don't have to carry too many torches like in other Minecraft games. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do with races. We're not trying to do too much with them.
Okay, so like, do you know how early on are you guys with the development of this game?
I've been working on it for a month before, but I was just toying around with the possibility of a voxel-based game on Nintendo. It was only till recently when we heard the news that Microsoft bought off Minecraft. So we decided to say, you know what? We like D&D, we like Dwarf Fortress, and we like Minecraft. Let's go ahead and make a game based off all 3 of those, and that's what we're doing.
That's awesome. How big of a team are you guys?
Currently, we're at 3 people. We have a musician, we have the creative director, that's Samuel. He's not here today, unfortunately. I believe he still hasn't gotten in, and I am the programmer, Cordero.
All right. So when do you guys think you'll have this game ready? Do you have any tentative timeline? Are we going to see it next year, 2 years?
We want to actually get out as early as possible because we're going to do the way of making, constant updates. We'll release a good base game. It's not going to be an alpha or a beta. It's going to be complete. And then we're going to, whoever buys the game, they'll get all the updates for free unless it's like DLC, which is significant. It gives significant changes to the game. But other than that, it's just going to be constantly updated.
Cool.
So I guess the tentative date, I would say either late December or early January.
That soon. That's awesome. So we don't have to wait too long then.
Yes. A lot of people have been telling us they want this game out as soon as possible. But a good game is still a good game, and if we try to rush out a product too soon, we don't, it'll be too buggy. So if we have to hold it off for a bit, we will.
Yeah, I mean that's great because like Minecraft is one of the most asked for games, or one of the most asked for ports for the Wii U. So many people want to try it with the Gamepad.
That's correct.
Actually, that's a good point. Do you guys expect to use the Gamepad in any special way?
Oh wow, yes we do. I get the one cool. Of course, obviously you'll be able to manage the inventory on your Gamepad. The one other cool option we want to do is have it to where you can go into free look mode and you'll be able to look around 360, look at your environment. We figure, that was one of the things that Nintendo advertised anyway, so we might as well make use of that feature too.
Nice, awesome. What do you guys think of this? The other devs here.
It sounds very exciting. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Thank you.
I think you stand to dominate the market now that Minecraft is Microsoft only. So
yeah.
Really, I mean, it sounds like you've got a really good, plan involved. And if if you could get it out in December, man, because let's not BS. Wii U's are going to be flying off the shelf, around Christmas time because of, Smash Brothers. I mean, look at how much it sold on 3DS, and that's an appetizer. So y'all stand to make a lot of money if you come through on the game. From what I've seen, it does look very promising. So yeah.
There's still a lot of polishing we can do. It's a lot of polishing still, in the early stages, but we're gonna. You said it correctly. We need to get it out by the holidays. I'm not gonna say we're gonna rush it, but that is one of our scheduled milestones.
You think you'll get caught up in like any kind of like administrative delays? Like I hear a lot of devs, their game's ready, but then it takes a while for it to hit the eShop just because there's.
Yeah, Nintendo likes to put the games through an approval process. They want to make sure it's bug-free and make sure it follows the protocols of the Nintendo console. So, honestly, we should technically be done in November if we want to get out in December. Is basically the tentative, schedule for it.
Yeah, for sure. And also here we have another recently new developer in their game. So Jonathan, I'm actually going to put you on the spotlight because very recently you announced your game Psyscrolr, right?
Yes, we did. It's actually our second game that we're working on. The first one that we have, you may have seen before. It's a Hexacon Fantasy Puzzle Combat. That game is for PC and Wii U. But yeah, we did announce Psyscrolr. We put out a trailer. We've started working on the Scrolr series to explain the game and its concepts and stuff like that. I was just working on the second video before this hangout, which will be out tomorrow, explaining some of the enemies in the game.
All right, cool. I'm going to get a link of that, right? So I can put it in my weekly wrap-up next week?
Oh, definitely, yeah. The PR will be out tomorrow, so everybody will get a link to that for sure.
Awesome, perfect. And also a note to anybody watching, if you are curious as to the games that these developers are working on, you can actually go to nintendoenthusiast.com. On the page that talks about this hangout, we have the trailers to all the games there, except for Stoneshire, because you guys don't have a trailer yet. But there is gameplay footage there, so you guys can...
Yeah, we have gameplay footage.
So back to you, Jonathan. What is Psyscrolr, in your own word? What's it about?
Okay, well, I mean, Psyscrolr is just basically a platformer that has much more gamepad intuitive elements in it than usual. I mean, that's just the basic. description for it. Like the whole setup is that the main character has psychic powers that he doesn't really want, and he gets in contact with this person who's only known as the narrator to the player. And through the game, they both try to work together to figure out what's going on in the world. Why does he have these powers? He eventually meets up with this anti-magic group, or sorry, anti-psychic group called the Magi, who believe that their regular sorcery powers are their true powers that they have, and psychic powers aren't. They're not the real thing. He calls them a heretic and stuff like that.
All right, cool. Jason is doing something else, so he's not paying attention. So I'll be taking over. I do like what I've seen from that game for sure, and ApexCon as well. Do you have a time frame for both of these games, or?
Hexacon is actually on hiatus of development as we're waiting for our artists to come back to continue working on assets for the game. So we're working on Psyscrolr full-time right now. We're steamrolling all the way through the development. We're over halfway done with the game. We've got most of the boss battles put into the game. We've got most of the secrets put into the game. And actually, we have extra mini games and stuff too. And we'll have like a time trial thing going on, so you can post your scores on Miiverse and whatnot. But we're looking at releasing the game at somewhere around the end of November into December. We're gonna probably try to pick a really good date around there. We are trying to shoot for that, Christmas time. A lot of Wii U's get bought. They want to play something new on there, and put out that game so that way people can have something that's new to look forward to, especially previous owners of Wii U.
Very cool. I look forward to hopefully playing it around that time frame. All right, so let's pick on someone else next. Let's pick on Eli. Hello, Eli from TreeFall Studios.
What's up?
So, Mr. Eli, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
Hold up,
Sweet.
I'm going to interfere here for a sec. Eli, what were you thinking of putting that terrible face on that tree in your game?
Thing in the entire game.
It was what, sorry?
This is the best part of the entire game.
So the letter update came out. Of course, when the game came out, everyone was, saying you were the antichrist of game development, even though, it was such a gross overreaction. Like, whatever. How has the reception been for the update, with the added stuff, and all that jazz?
It's been a lot better than the launch, that's for sure. I've got a lot of people on Facebook and our Twitter pages saying they love it. It's much better than the original. They're looking forward to more updates. It's not totally done yet, but the response is slightly more positive, I'd say. I'm not being brutally attacked every day anymore.
No more death threats or anything?
Yeah, that's ceased for a little while.
Good. That's good. So you've got the maze that you're working on, which, some people aren't, super into it or whatever. I think it looks pretty damn cool, to be honest with you. Like, I enjoy games like that and whatnot. So, how's that coming along? I know you've been doing the developer commentary videos. I've been watching those. How far in the process are you, and when do you expect to hopefully release the game?
Well, a couple things. I've only got one more commentary left. We're probably about 85% done with the game. I'm planning to launch in late November, but as pointed out by some people, the testing process is slower during the holidays, so it might slip into December. Hoping not, but maybe the beginning of that. There's just a little bit of polish I got to go back through and polish up everything else, and most of the levels are done. It's only missing like 2, so it's almost done.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry. All right, so we actually have a question for you, Eli.
All right.
It made me kind of giggle.
Love giggling.
Eli, to the person behind the letter, do you enjoy making grown men cry?
Well, let's see. If I can get any emotion out of anyone, that's a win. So sure.
Alright, cool. Alright, we will stop picking it. Oh, man, I was going to pick on Yanni next. Yanni left us. Alright, so we will pick on Mr. Greg Wiggleton next. Mr. Greg, how's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Man, going good, going good. So, for those who may not know or may have just joined the chat room, because it is filling up kind of nicely, Greg is behind ZaciSa's Last Stand, which is a fantastic game. It confused the hell out of me when I first saw the gameplay trailer, but once I actually played it, I was like, wow, this works, and it's very fun. So you just you did an update a couple weeks ago. How's the reception been to that? And are you working on another update, or what's the status of ZaciSa's Last Stand?
Yeah, people have been pretty happy with the update. People have been loving it. Recently, I started working on a second update to add more maps. Mainly, it's going to add some collaborations. One from Ping 1.5 Plus and Block Drop U. As well as just submitted a demo to the demo of the game. That should help clear out some issues with the game's name. That's pretty much my plan right now. I'm going to start working on some new games soon.
Now you're a one-man studio, right?
That is correct.
Now, I've noticed you've kind of had a little thing. We've talked about it on Twitter with the name of the game. Do you really like what about the name of the game do you think kind of confused people or threw people off?
I think it's a combination of that and the art. Basically, everyone that has seen the trailer or seen the name was confused by what ZaciSa what I was meant. I probably should have named it like Tower Defense or Doodle Defense. That would probably get the name out there easier to understand it.
And you said you are working on some other stuff. Anything you want to share? A little tidbit of information, or?
Well, I am working on a simple solitaire game for the Wii U. Just something in the meantime. And I'll be starting a big project that will be out, a 2D platforming game that will be out in spring of 2015 soon.
All right, very cool, very cool. And next up on my hit list, we have Trent Steen from Shapes of Grey. What is up, Trent?
Hey.
So, for those who may not know anything about Shapes of Grey, why don't you give the viewers a little rundown of what it's all about?
So yeah, Shapes of Grey is a top-down action arcade game based around the idea of progressing through a series of 10-second levels really quickly. I released it on PC earlier this year, and now I'm bringing it to Wii U in a bigger, better form.
And how did it do on PC? Were you pleased with critical reception, fan reception, stuff like that?
It was a super low-key release. It barely got any attention.
Well, damn it, we will give you attention.
Yes.
So, looks like we have another person entering the room, Mr. Christopher Arnold from Nami Tentumushu, or whatever the hell he pronounces it as. So why did you decide to join the Wii U after the PC launch of the game?
Well, I've always loved Nintendo, so I basically applied to be a Wii U developer on a whim, and they accepted me, so I was like, oh, awesome. Well, I can do this now.
All right, very cool. Next on my target list is Mario. Mario, how's it going, brother?
Good.
So, Mario, go ahead and let people know what you're all about, what game you're with, and all that good stuff. We've got some new people watching the stream.
Okay, so primarily I did the art for the bridge on Steam, PC, Mac, Linux, Xbox 360, what have you. Coming soon to PS4, Wii U, Xbox One, and in April, I finished out my Kickstarter for Hex Heroes. It's a party RTS game for Wii U. So think Warcraft/Starcraft on the gamepad, mixed with some action adventure, a la 3D Zelda style on the TV.
Hex Heroes, I know I've followed it on Kickstarter, and I think Jason may have done a Indie Corner feature on it. I think that was like his first one. That looks like an awesome game. How is the development coming along? And are you pleased with the reception that you've been getting from Wii U owners towards your game?
Yeah, actually, our whole community is just outstanding. That's one thing. I mean, Kickstarter is very stressful, but the community was amazing in helping that run smoothly. Very inspiring. Everyone there is really excited about the game's progress. We update. We're switching to a monthly format, so we're only updating once a month now to give people their inboxes a little bit of a rest. But things are going really well so far.
All right, cool. So I'm finally back. Sorry about that, guys. I was out tweeting the link and sending it out on Facebook, trying to get more people in here.
All right. Just FYI, I'm sure you've heard everything, but Yanni and then the Andy Milanakis looking person are the only two person we haven't talked to yet.
Yanni and who, sorry?
The guy who looks like Andy Milanakis, all the way.
You
looks
mean
kind of like
Mr.
a
Ping? The Ping over there?
Oh, Mr. Ping, that's who that is. Okay, sorry.
All right, we'll do Yanni next. Many people probably have recognized him from our interview for Armillo a few months back. So Yanni, you've got the spotlight. Feel free to introduce yourself and talk a bit about your game.
Hey guys, I'm Yanni. I'm one of the developers for Armillo. Armillo is basically an action. Actually, can you hear me? Is the mic working? Yeah. So Armillo is basically an action arcade kind of game. It's got a bit of platforming. It's got a bit of puzzling. It's a 3D rolling platformer, kind of like Marble Madness, Sonic, or Mario Galaxy. And it's sort of like kind of like an N64 type platformer. We put a lot of other elements in the game, like leveling up and a store, and there's a bit of a story, and there's progression, and it's unlockable. So we try to sort of put some of the things that we really liked when we were growing up in games into Armillo, and it's been released since July 3rd on the Wii U eShop.
So Yanni, now that it's been a few months since Armillo has come out, do you have a better outlook? Is there more for Armillo coming? Is there DLC? Is there some special guest appearance of Armillo in other indie games? Is there anything that you can share?
Yeah, there's some guest appearances coming up. We haven't announced anything yet, but yeah, definitely we're looking to do that and do some more of that. I don't have any DLC planned. I'm just looking at marketing and possibly some other platforms coming up in the next couple of months. So we're just working on that right now and just keep promoting it, and we're still doing contests and interviews and all that stuff.
All right, great. So if anyone has questions for Yanni, or of course anyone else that shared the spotlight earlier, feel free to ask him in the YouTube. And I actually pointed below, but it's actually off to the side here, so either this side or this side. So just ask your questions there. Shawn will pick them up. And finally, our special guest here. So hang on, let's get off.
Maid of honor.
Back on. Right, so we had a bit of a switcheroo in indie developers. Gabriel from Nascent Games doesn't look like he was able to make it, so we have Christopher Arnold, developer behind Ping 1.5 Plus, one of the few devs I've had the privilege of meeting in person at E3. I'm sorry, Chris, we did a quick video and it never saw the light of day. But Chris's game comes out next week, Ping 1.5 Plus. Chris, or Christopher, I give you the spotlight. What's your game about? What are you about?
It's a game that rips off everything Atari with no shame. It's an original. No, it's a game with bomb physics. It's a puzzle game. You hit an orange. That's all. All the levels are just that. It's a simple gameplay game, but the difficulty curve is way up in the air. Everyone that's tested it says it's super hard. Some of them have cussed at me. It's okay.
So is it frustratingly hard or is it fair hard? Because I think
it's
I'm the one
frustratingly hard.
Oh boy.
It's not fair.
Great. I think I'm the one that's reviewing that title, by the way.
You're gonna do all 12 worlds, right?
Is that possible? How much time am I looking at here? Do I have to book out my entire
I don't know. It's going to be a few hours. It's definitely not a game you can complete in just an hour or two.
week? So how do the controls work for this? Like I saw the videos. It's a ball, bounces around blocks. You're trying to get to an orange blob or circle, sphere, whatever. Is it like touchscreen controls?
The preferred way to play would probably be through the touchscreen. But you can also use a joystick, and you can hit the A button to launch it, so you have control over that too. For the last 4 worlds, you can hit the R button, and it'll flip the whole level so you can see the other side. So that will actually be a function in gameplay that you will need to do, because it will be obscured by some blocks. So you'll have to flip, and then hurry up and figure out where to shoot. It gets really hard in the later levels.
Okay.
But yeah, it's touchscreen, and with joystick and A button.
I played a build of it. That was a couple months, probably back in April or May, I think. And I thought the game was just atrocious. It was the worst. No, I'm just kidding. But has it come? How far has it come along since then? I mean, because what I played was like really good, and like I had a couple buddies over the house, and they were like, "What the hell are you playing?" And I was like, "Dude, you gotta try this. It's pretty addictive." So I know you like to downplay yourself, but I think it's going to be a really good game when it's released. How much development have you done since that initial May build that I tried out?
I actually haven't done much development. I've had lots of personal life problems which interfered with development. But the main things I changed, I changed the graphics on it. There's more bloom. It's very bloomy. It's very shiny. I tweaked the scores, make it easier. Those earlier builds are actually much more intense than these builds, because I had a few people play it, and I would tweak scores down, because some of them were almost impossible. And what else?
Christopher, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
So that's a good topic. I'm actually opening this to all of you. So difficulty curves. What do you guys think of it? How challenging is it to find the right difficulty curve in your games, or do you not care and you just try to make the hardest game you want? You can.
I can talk a bit about that. My cam's down, sorry. We built the game however we wanted to build the game, and in the last 2 months we were panicking on difficulty and basically working on all sorts of alternate versions for difficulty. We ended up having the game being too easy off the top, and we made it a bit more difficult. And in the end, I still think it's a bit too easy. So then we ended up having an easy mode and a normal mode, which wasn't really much of a change. But it was something that we worked on for a long time, because that balance of getting someone frustrated and getting somebody interested enough to finish the game was really important to us. We didn't want people to just play like 5 levels, get super frustrated, and then quit. So for us, it had a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of heated debates for us to arrive at where we arrived at. And I don't know that we got it 100% right, but it definitely took a lot of effort to get it to where it was.
I'd say I'm the opposite. My game at launch was way too hard. I was so worried that it was going to be way too easy, and people were like, oh, I don't want to play this, it's too easy. I ended up making it way too hard. So with my patch, I made it a good bit easier.
Yeah, I found yours, Greg, started off nice and slow. It was fun, relaxing, and all of a sudden I got owned. When I was trying to put my the Indie Corner feature featuring your game, unfortunately I couldn't make it past like 10 minutes. It would just ramp up, and then I just get swarmed by all these things. But I mean that's the type of game it is. So
yeah, that's true. I also kind of programmed it into it. Different things, like if you only at past like 10 levels, I'll do evil things. If you like only have one bot, I would actually make it harder.
Oh, you evil developer.
For at least Psyscrolr, for our development of the difficulty, we took a lot of I guess insight from other games and how they ramp up difficulty and or introduce mechanics to the players. For example, in our tutorial levels, we have some basic interaction with the gamepad, showing off the just moving blocks around, and it introduces the player to the concept. So that way, in the later stage of the level or in other levels, you'll get an idea. Okay, well maybe if I actually touch this block, it'll do something different because I was already introduced to it earlier, and then that player goes, oh, okay, and then you get that kind of like puzzle. You feel good, like you figured it out. You feel like the master of the world. After you figured out the puzzle. So that's the type of thing we strive for in the game.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in on their story of handling difficulty in their games?
Well, for Ping, I didn't really play test it that much. I had a slew of people testing the levels, and then they would give me reports on each specific level, like, this level's too hard, let's bring it down a bit. And we were constantly tweaking the scores for like a month or two this summer. It was around June and July where most of the adjusting to the goals were changed. And initially it was too hard because I'm the one that made it, so it's much easier for me. So I'm not good at judging if it's difficult or not. So
that's
Eric Weishart, I don't know how to say his last name, but you know him.
Yes, our graphic designer at Nintendo Enthusiasts.
Yeah, you stole him from me.
Yeah, he's a good man.
But yeah, he did a lot of the difficulty testing, and he helped with the debugging of the game. And then we had our pre-purchasers who played the PC build. They played it, and then if they found any bugs or scores that were too hard, they would let us know through our bug form. So we had about 30 or 40 people testing it.
Okay, that's a good point. I'm just putting up a comment here from the Indie Gamer Chick saying that that's one of the biggest problems for indie devs. It's often not intentional. They forget that they are the best player at their own games in the entire world, because obviously you know the insides and outs. You play it every day. So to all you developers, I mean, how do you test it? Do you go just to your friend and say, hey, try my game? How do you build a test group if you do build one at all?
Well, for us, I was just say really quickly, for us, we had the game out at PAX in 2011, so we saw a lot of people play, and we would just take it to all these trade shows and have people play. We also have a local meetup in Vancouver, and we'd bring the game there and have it, played there, and just take note. One of our lead QA guys took the game to Vancouver Film School and had a bunch of people play for half an hour with a video cam on their face. So we got that footage back and actually studied how people were doing and where they were sort of making facial expressions that were weird and stuff, and then used that at the very end when we were doing our difficulty curves.
Really cool. Now someone else wanted to chime in too at the same time.
I'd echo that. Probably the most valuable thing, for at least speaking an experience of the bridge, was having so many people playtest, having a big notepad ready to see how they were receiving levels. And so to sort of, and it's not always easy for indies to break into the expo scene, but at least for those games that have Kickstarters, you have a user base already, and so making betas available to them and getting their feedback and making sure that you have plenty of analytics prepared to send all the data you can back, such as what players doing right and wrong, and collecting that data is really, really helpful in that way. That's what we're doing with Hex Heroes, is we've got an analytics going up before we have the beta out so that we can mine all that secret info.
Cool, so you guys are doing the data collection and data analysis yourself? Yeah,
so we'll be pulling back things like character health, or rather character lifespans, how long it takes people to complete certain actions, success rates of certain objectives, things like that, and we can kind of compare those stats to even our own performance of the game and measure that and ensure that the difficulty is in fact scaling the way we want it to.
That's actually really fascinating for me. My day job's actually data analyst, so I love anything with data. Shawn, I see Shawn has a question from the audience for us.
Yeah, I got a question on Twitter. For those developing using Unity, how easy has the porting process been as far as from other systems to the Wii U?
I found it amazingly easy. Like, there's not very much that you have to change in the code besides the input and maybe some shaders, but overall it's been easy to just build to PC or Android or iPhone or Wii U. There isn't too much of a curve to do that. But if you want to make it a very good port, you need to make use of the other special features, so you do have to take some time to learn what Nintendo's code can offer and make use of their system, but just simply porting it is very easy. You can get it run. I had Ping running on the first day I had my dev kit.
All right, we got another question. This is from Bradley News 11. I think he does the That's on Miiverse videos, which are pretty funny. He wants to know, I like cheesecake. Which developer likes cheesecake?
Okay. So we got Trent. Anyone else? A cheesecake enthusiast?
I make cheesecakes. I make them all the time. I love them.
They're delicious.
I will make a cheesecake and deliver it directly to you.
What's the catch? What does he have to do to get that cheesecake?
Well, he's Bradley. He gets anything he wants.
All right, so I see a question from Colleen here. How often are we going to do this? Well, Colleen, it really depends on the interest of the developers. I mean, I'm up for doing this maybe once a month or something. We're definitely going to have more of these sorts of Indie Corner live with the chats, or live chat with the devs. As long as indie developers are interested in showing up and talking, which I don't think will be a problem, we'll keep doing this, and hopefully it just keeps growing.
Every day.
Every day.
All right, so let's see. I have a question for someone here. Let's pick on someone who's been quiet. Mr. Eli Brewer. Mr. Eli Brewer, how are you doing?
What's
Eli?
up? Yeah, man.
All right, so what's the other game you're working on? The one I forget the name of it. It's got like the two characters. Tell me about that.
The two characters?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, for one. Yesterday, I shared a release picture of all the different things we're working on at the moment. And are you still there?
Yep, we're still here.
Yeah, it just got real quiet. And I announced I didn't show off anything besides titles of new games we're working on. There's a couple extra games that I've split my team up into, and we're going to try to have out by the end of the year. One is called Pitter Pot, and it's a 3D puzzle adventure game. That's the one with that little pot, the concept art I shared off yesterday. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. And the other one is a like an RPG game that I had originally started a long time ago, a few years back when I first started game development, and I'm turning that into an interactive storybook as well. So both of those are going to try to launch towards the end of this year to the start of next year.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I had a question. Jason, take over and let me figure out my question.
Yeah, sure. Again, broad question to anyone who wants to answer it. What do you guys think is, I know this is really general, the broad future for indie developers? And what I'm trying to really get at is when I talk to a lot of people, they seem to think indie games are either retro or platformers, and a lot of people are kind of hitting platformer fatigue. Now, I know actually here is a perfect example of you know, the indie community being very diverse. I mean, each developer here has a game that's very different from one or the other. But what do you guys think on that topic? What are your opinions on that? Do you think that the indie scene is defined by platformers and retro looks?
That would be the major majority of indie games at the moment, and a lot of the indie games you see come out will feature retro. Even I'm guilty of that, retro graphics, and that's just kind of the thing at the moment. It's almost a fad, but for it to continue, it is going to get oversaturated in platformers and retro games, and they'll have to find something new. So more people will be figuring out new niches to get into.
Does anyone else want to chime in on their thoughts?
Speaking from experience, the bridge was made by 2 people, and Hex Heroes team is like 10. So it's a lot easier for people to hit the indie scene with a smaller team and, you know, less budget when you really only need like 2D art. With 3D comes 3D modeling, rigging, animating, texturing. You've got technical artists to handle lighting in the game and particle effects. The coding is a little bit more intense. So engines like Unity are making this a lot easier, and I think in the past couple years, at least the past year, we've seen a rise, small rise maybe, but a rise in 3D indie games. And I think we're slowly getting out of the retro feel. It'll always be there, but I'm hoping that maybe the new retro will be like N64 style graphics.
Yeah, we'll be evolving into Nintendo 64 retro instead of SNES and NES.
I'm ready for a Shovel Knight 64.
So I guess we're totally ahead of the curve then. Right on. Woohoo! Go Armillo.
All right, I actually have a question for Stoneshire, Mr. Stoneshire. I'm sorry, I forgot your name because I'm an ass. But you're obviously doing a Minecraft-inspired game for the Wii U. Now, there's another company also doing a Minecraft-inspired game for the Wii U, Ucraft. Have you seen that? What do you think of that project, and how is yours going to be separated from that project?
Oh, I knew that question was gonna. I was hoping it didn't come up because, you know, it's obvious at some point there's gonna be other people coming out with games like it, Minecraft. So, to me, I feel like it's more so. It's a good thing in a way. I mean, I don't want people to say. I heard some warnings are like, it's 2 people now, it's 3 people. It's gonna be saturated market soon enough. It's gonna be like the Xbox indie platform. If any of you guys heard of Fortress Craft and all the other Minecraft clones on Xbox. So to me, it's more like, I guess it's more of whoever can, you know, we're trying to appease the audience. Whatever Ucraft does, Ucraft's going to do. What we're going to do, what we're going to do. We're not going. I'm not really trying to compete against them. Really, I don't see it like that.
Is it affecting you in any way, though? Like, are you looking at him, and if he releases in November, then you try to skew your... I'll put my face on. Is Ucraft affecting your development cycle in any way?
We didn't really hear about Ucraft until last week, and then that's because people were like, "Hey, you know, there's a game called Ucraft that's also coming out. Are you going to try to do? They're trying to do this. Are you going to do this?" I feel like it'll be really bad if we try to do a race against them. Because Minecraft is a very delicate game, and we're trying to make sure it at least has certain features in it, you know, to appeal to those who like Minecraft, like crafting, enough to craft, enough to mine, interesting landscapes, interesting mobs, all those basic features. We want to make sure they have that. So technically, no, we're not really doing that.
So long as your game is named Stoneshire and it's not named Ucraft, I mean, at least it's not named after like some sort of Minecraft variation thereof. Yeah. I mean that's going to get you set up for people that look at it and say, okay, it looks like Minecraft, but it's not called X-Craft.
Right.
So what does this game have to offer? They'll be interested in it, and as long as you bring the different features and stuff, like maybe like porting around or something like that, or whatever you decide to bring, and set yourself apart, then people will be like, okay, this is a little bit above and beyond, and you'll have something there.
It's like what Terraria and Starbound did. They basically differentiated themselves from the competition, which I give mad respect for those games.
All right. So the next question I picked up is from Necromancer ADR, and he's asking, or they're asking, how important is Miiverse for indie devs, or at least to you guys?
It's very important. I mentioned this countless times over the last months, but one of the main resources for my improvements with my game is from Miiverse. People have been very helpful in, just suggesting new improvements or new ideas. It's really a great feedback tool if you actually use it.
Anyone else? Do you guys use Miiverse in your games, or do you plan to if you're in development right now?
For the update, I had to remove it, so I won't have to delay ping any longer because I didn't file an application. But Miiverse will be included in the update. It's very important to me because I like the Miiverse network, and I like how players can connect with other players, share what they're playing at ease, extremely fast. After each level, there will be a tweet button. The ability to be able to share content even through Miiverse, because those posts can even carry data. So there is a lot of developer potential. You can do lots of neat things with it. And I'll be one of the first indie developers to include stamps, and stamps are pretty fun, especially for those who aren't artistically inclined like me. I can't draw. It's a good way to give content and share the content with players. And it's also a good way to get feedback, because you'll see what everyone's playing, how they're playing it. You can look through your posts, you'll find major complaints, and you'll find things that you're doing right just going through your Miiverse community. So I think more Nintendo indie developers should embrace Miiverse because it's a very useful tool.
And how easy or difficult is it, Christopher, to add into the game? Like you said, you pulled it at the last second from the release of Ping 1.5 Plus. Is it a big challenge to get it working?
It was a bit, especially since I wanted to add things like stamps and reading data for maybe potential level creation. I'm not exactly sure on that feature yet, but it does require that you do have some programming experience because it's not directly supported with Unity. That's something you actually have to know kind of what you're doing. But it wasn't too hard. I mean, I came out of nowhere with no background in programming, so I'm sure if I could do it, the more experienced indie developers would be able to do it in like a week, unlike me.
And is there any tutorials that you looked up, like any resources that you found that you could actually share with any indie developer which could be looking for that kind of stuff?
Not that I can say here.
Oh, all right. Good, we'll keep that one off the book. Okay, Shawn, are you still away, or do we have another question? I'll take that as he's still away. So anyone in the chat, if you have a question I might have missed, feel free to post it right now, and I can actually pick it up and toss it up.
I guess going back to Miiverse support, one thing that's great about Miiverse is I don't know if I'm going to be able to have online leaderboards in Shapes of Grey, but with Miiverse, that's basically built-in online leaderboards. Just share a screenshot of your score, share it with your friends, and that's all you need.
I guess I'll chime in with Miiverse too, especially for like say Psyscrolr. It's going to have a lot of secrets in the game, so I'm really curious to know how the Miiverse community will share those secrets with each other, figure out different things that are going on in the game, and basically getting a lot of feedback on like how difficult is the game, and where like future patches for the game could come out to help with other players playing the game. So that's really a great tool for the developers to check out feedback for their game.
We've used Miiverse. I mean, we obviously don't have it in the game. We didn't integrate it. We didn't really have time, and we looked at stamps as well. But again, we ran out of time. But Miiverse has been really helpful for me. I mean, I'm on it every day, sometimes a couple times a day. I talk with people back and forth. Sometimes they ask for help. We've done interviews on Miiverse. We've done contests that we've linked on Twitter on Miiverse. And I think it gives us a really good overview of how people are doing. And also, like, you have to kind of take it with a bit of a grain of salt, because some people who like to complain louder than the other people. So you have to kind of factor in, like, you know, what they're trying to tell you. I've had a couple of exchanges with people who were like super angry and unhappy about something, and as soon as I replied to them, they calmed immediately down, because they realized that, you know, they're not just sitting in the corner screaming. There's somebody actually there talking to them. So as soon as you start the discussion, it actually really helps. So it's been really useful for us, and just sort of following up with Armillo and getting our patch out as well.
That really helps when developers are able to talk directly to their fans and people who are playing the game, because a lot of people are used to the fact that developers just don't really listen to them, or they release stuff in PR, you know, that says, oh, we're going to have our game be, you know, 900p because we decided to make it, you know, 30 FPS instead of going as far as we wanted to, and explaining things, you know, in a more direct manner.
All right.
All right. So I have a question myself now. This question is for everyone in the room. Why has nobody made a simple first-person shooter game yet on the eShop? Go.
Because I'm not done making it.
Started to work on it, yeah.
So, but, I mean, do you think that? I mean, that's kind of a joking question, but do you think? Because really, everyone that's in here, like, pretty much everyone that's in here has a diverse game that doesn't, like, nobody's game really steps over each other's game in here. Like, they're all very separate, they're all very unique. But on the eShop, it almost seems like there's like a high influx of, you know, no disrespect, but, you know, 2D platformers. Do you think that's just, like, I know you guys were talking earlier how that's an easier step to do, but I mean, really, 2D platformers are very, they're also in the retro thing. Do you think is there a creative decision to go with a 2D platformer first? And I guess Psyscrolr will be a good answer to this. I mean, granted, your game looks amazing, and I'm totally looking forward to it, but do you think that there's almost a lot of fish in that one pond of a 2D platformer?
To go ahead and start off, obviously, because you called out Psyscrolr. Well, yeah, the initial design was to make it a platformer, but the point is to create a game that is using the gamepad in ways that other platformers don't. And that is the key feature that will set it aside from other platformers. You know, that will just use the gamepad and say, "Oh, here, take your character, use the stick, go." You know, Psyscrolr using the gamepad to shoot enemies, to slash with attacks, to, you know, like for example, on my Twitter, I've been showing off one of the later levels, which looks like it's on the moon, that has a block that you can drag with your finger, and you have to use it to drag it kind of like through a maze and get to the point where you have to turn it in, you know, and that's things you don't see in a regular platformer. Most of the time, you'll just jump through the level, go to the end, you're finished, hooray, you know. That's not something we try to strive for with that release, and that's one of the things that going into creating Psyscrolr, I wanted to avoid, was just the usual, oh, this is a platformer.
I got a couple things I think about the side-scrolling stuff. I think his game looks pretty sweet, for one, but for sure, I think the Wii U in general is just a good market for platformers. A lot of the fans really love platformers out there. It's not always a creative decision for some people. A good business decision sometimes is to make it. They are easy to implement, but I think a lot of times people just will grab a platform and be like, "Well, it's going to sell well because it's Nintendo." So I don't really know. But.
Well, then, I mean, you also have a game like Armillo, which has, you know, both 2D sections and 3D sections, And by the way, Yanni, I have not beaten the last freaking Secret World, and like, what I'll do is I'll try it for about 20 to 30 minutes a day, and like I'll just get so frustrated I'll want to like kill everyone. So, but now I know when we talked earlier, you had said that the 2D stuff was actually, an afterthought, say, Armillo.
Yeah, totally true. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, yeah. I don't really know where I was going with that, but that's cool.
I think you were going with, platformers are easier to do. I mean, for us, we just did what we could do. Like, making a game is never about, oh, I want to make this amazing game that's like awesome. It's like, what can you build with the tools and the skills at your disposal, right? So you may want to write a Stairway to Heaven as a guitar player, but you might not have the skills, so you settle for something else. So we just did what we could. The 2D stuff was a game that James was working on, like an iPhone game, and we basically took that and morphed it into Armillo and just wanted to add more content. So that's why that's there. We never set out to make like a 2D platformer, but we thought it'd be kind of cool to put it in there. Now, when I showed it to one of our local developers, they totally thought it was a bad idea. It didn't fit. Stylistically, it didn't work. The polish wasn't there. And to all of which I went, yeah, I can see someone playing the game and having that, that reaction. It's valid. He's like, well, why are you doing it? And I said, because I can. So that's my rant on the platformers. It's basically you build what you can. And if you know how to make a platformer and you're really good at that, then you do that, right?
Well, I mean, it turned out like freaking amazing. Like, just the way, because it contrasted the meat of the game so well that I was like, I mean, not that someone would get tired of the standard sections, but it was a good break in being inside of the sort of the 3D world to just go switch back to the 2D. Now, we had a question in the chat room. Shut up, Mike. From Tillman with Nintendo Domination.
I wanted that question.
And oh, you did?
Yeah, quiet. I'm gonna take it. All right? No.
Oh, whatever.
All right. Because you don't get to talk about this because you already did your Nintendo rant about it, so we all heard you talk about it so much. So I'm putting it out there for everyone. Okay, everyone else can chime in on this. So from Nintendo Domination, what do you guys think about Nintendo's third-party situation? And let me just, especially about publishers such as Ubisoft. And this doesn't have to be indie-specific. Third party.
Wait, and I'm going to steal it and answer it first. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. 3 to 5 years, the standard third-party developer is going to be, the whole landscape is going to be a lot different. A lot of these big companies are going to come crumbling to the ground, and the dudes you see in this chat room right now are going to be the new third-party developers, because indie games are where third-party games are going, because the budgets are crazy. You saw Capcom the other day. Oh, we got to sell 2 million to make a sequel. What? You have to sell 2 million copies to make a sequel? Are you out of your freaking mind? That's insane. That right there, and the high budgets of the Ubisoft games and all that stuff, it's crazy. It's crazy, and 3 to 5 years. Write it down today. 3 to 5 years, the whole landscape is changing, and that's all I'm saying. Everyone go.
Great. You set the tone perfectly there, Shawn.
Profound.
That's what he's known for.
I hear crickets. Crickets. Anybody else hear crickets?
Trent, we haven't heard from you in a while. What do you think about third-party publishers?
I think you nailed it. In terms of how it's going to affect the Wii U sales, I guess we'll find out after Smash Brothers how much they need third-party games.
I think we live in an environment now where owning one game console, it was like so 1990, I mean, a lot of kids today, and I'm speaking pretty generally as I don't observe kids or have kids or know people with kids, but so I'll just pull this right out of thin air, but I'm going to assume that kids have more than one console, and owning a Wii U alone, I don't think does anybody justice. I think people should own, PS4, Xbox One, or whatever, and a Wii U. And at that point, third party kind of fades into the background because you're going to get your third party experience on other consoles, but you can only get Nintendo on Nintendo. And I know that it's a risky game to play, but I don't know. I think the gaming economy is supporting more than one console household nowadays.
Do you guys think third party, we're really getting to that point where, what is Cordero doing there with his knight figure?
This is not a knight figure. This is a knight from Dark Souls.
Ah, I have to try that game. It's one of those games I just gotta try. Oh man, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so people often say you get your Nintendo games on your Nintendo console and your third-party games on any other platform. Do you guys think that needs to be that way? Like myself, I've played Assassin's Creed 4 on my Wii U, and I own I have a PS3. But I hate that people say your Nintendo games are your Nintendo consoles. To me, it doesn't have to be that way. When the Wii U started, there was some great third-party games on it, even though they were all kind of hacked version of other consoles. Would you guys like to see more third parties come to the Wii U? Like even if we do live in an age where a lot of people have multiple consoles?
Yes. I would love that because one game I do want on my Wii U, as I just said, is the Dark Souls series. The Bloodborne is coming out for the PS4. And it's unfortunate that it's not coming to any other systems yet, as far as we know, but they got it for playing for Xbox and PlayStation, but for not Nintendo. That gamepad would really make, keeping the inventory off screen so you won't die while you're trying to change your equipment.
I think typically software sells hardware, not the other way around. So Nintendo's been really good with that in the past, having good launch titles and early adopters of third parties. But typically, third-party games sell the worst on Nintendo, and first-party games sell maybe like 10 to 20 times more, and that's always been the case with Nintendo. The Wii is a perfect example of that, and the Wii U is, the same thing. So when you're thinking about developing, and you're dropping like 15, 20 mil, you have to see a return on that if you're gonna make a game for the Wii U. And a lot of first parties don't use tools like Unity, so for them to actually port, it's a tremendous effort. You actually have to have another team concurrently building a game. So it's going to be really hard for someone to justify that financially with the numbers that we have for the Wii U. And it's just, unless you have those numbers in your back pocket, I mean, we're just speculating, right? So I think it's really hard to answer that question without actually having those numbers. I think what you're seeing is the lack of third party is people analyzing the numbers and going, these don't really make sense for us.
Now, the numbers argument has been thrown out plenty of times, and maybe it made sense at a time, when the Wii U was in a drought. But now look at the three next-gen consoles, PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U. Like, the Wii U is outselling Xbox One, and we don't hear that excuse for that platform that the numbers aren't there.
I think the numbers for PS4 are quite high now, right, worldwide? The last I heard, we were like at 14 or 15 mil or something.
Oh yeah, the PS4 is like in the lead.
So
PS4 here. Just quick breakdown because I look at all this crap way too much. In America, it goes PS4, Xbox 360. Xbox One, Wii U. Japan, Wii U, PS4. Xbox One is selling like 1,000 units out there. Europe is pretty much the same, but Wii U and Xbox One kind of flip and flop. The reason Wii U is ahead of Xbox One and will probably stay ahead of Xbox One, I feel, is because of the Japan market and the upcoming games. It's going to be, this is kind of off topic, but to me, like, the two most interesting systems this holiday season are the Xbox One and the Wii U. Like, the PS4 just doesn't. What's it got? Drive Club, like, whatever. But that's kind of how the market breaks down right now.
I think you can look at the death of the third party occurring on Wii when a lot of third party publishers wanted to get on the bandwagon of Waggle, or the bandwaggle. I'll coin that term right now. You heard it here first. I think that boils down to, like, nowadays on the Wii U, Nintendo should really bring back their seal of quality. and sort of promote games like Rayman Legends, which, sure, it's multi-platform, but their use of the gamepad is really clever. And I don't think enough third parties are taking the risk for making gamepad-centric games because they know they're not going to get the marketing support, they're not going to get the kind of support Nintendo gives its own first-party titles. I think Nintendo should step in that way. It only behooves them.
Well, I think part of the reason for that is when you look at the numbers, and I have talked with a lot of indie devs about Wii U numbers, you really need to do a multi-platform launch if you're going to try to make some of your money back. And when you start going really heavy on the gamepad, you're not going to be able to port that game to anything else, which means you can have a hard time covering your costs. So that's probably what it is. If you could just, do a Wii U launch and actually recoup and maybe make a bit more money for your next game, then I think we'd see a lot more people making games with a gamepad that's a central gameplay component, in my opinion.
So a game that's actually very heavy on the gamepad here, we have Mario and Hex Heroes. Is that a concern for you guys that you might be maybe cornering yourselves? Or I know you're targeting the Wii U specifically, so it's not so much cornering. But is there any concern of developing a game that's so gamepad-centric?
No, because we're indie. We don't have the huge expenses that a 50-man team, 100-man team has, and we are putting a lot of faith in sort of the Nintendo community. We'll turn a profit and be successful for our next project if we sell, just 20,000 copies. And I don't know that that's too much to ask for the Wii U community, who seem to be starved for gamepad-centric games. So as long as we deliver a quality experience that's worth owning on the Wii U, we're going to live game to game. And that's not any successful business proposition for a AAA company, but it's pretty much how indies live, game to game.
Mm-hmm. So I got a question. Since we're kind of talking about third parties and whatnot, what about the whole kind of movement that Nintendo is doing with companies like Tecmo Koei, or Koei Tecmo, I guess, and Platinum Games, where they're having them, like Hyrule Warriors. Like, who the hell would have thought, 2 years ago that you would see a game like that? Do you think that that's going to be a good enough substitute for third-party games? Because I played Hyrule Warriors. The first weekend it came out, put 25 hours into it, and I really enjoyed it. And like the Bayonetta 2 demo came out today, and I was just like, whoa, that's hype. So do you see that as being a viable enough substitute to bring in different types of gamers, and maybe even if the success of those games happen, bringing back third parties?
Was that directed to?
Just anyone who wants it.
Oh, wait. Could you rephrase that question? I'm sorry. I kind of lost the question there.
Okay. Basically, with Nintendo doing, almost like second-party games, with Koei Tecmo, with Hyrule Warriors, funding Bayonetta 2, do you see that as a viable enough reason for new gamers to come to the Wii U, and as far as traditional third parties are concerned, them coming back if those games go on to succeed and have good sales figures and whatnot?
Maybe. I can see, games like that working to help get more people to buy the system, especially if it's more like unusual projects like Hyrule Warriors.
I think that these games like Hyrule Warriors and stuff like that, they in my opinion, they appeal more towards the actual Nintendo fans themselves who already have the system. It may get some other people to buy those games, but it's they feel kind of niche. Like they feel like a specific like subset of games that Nintendo fans want, but they haven't had yet. Like, for example, Hyrule Warriors. It's just like basically like a crazy hack and slash game. So, it just fits that style that people want.
highly addictive hack and slash. I am hooked on Hyrule Warriors since last week. I just can't put it down.
I think games like Hyrule Warriors and Bayonetta and stuff is going to be enough for now to help Nintendo get a little bit of the extra money that they've been missing in their profits, I think. But I think it's going to be a little while before you see real third parties come back. At least a year or two, maybe after like Zelda and Smash Brothers, if it ships a lot of units. But I know the big companies, they're looking at just numbers, and unless the Wii U starts selling a whole lot more, I think it's going to be a while before they start putting any effort into it.
All right. If no one else has anything to chime in, I can go on to the next question. So, guys, we're about an hour in now. Do any of you feel like you need a break? Like, do you want to take a 2-minute pause, or do you guys just want to come in and out as you need to, grab a drink, do whatever you need? Okay,
I could be out here for another hour. I can do that.
All right. Okay, so yeah, I mean, feel free to just leave the scene if you need to. So I got 2 questions, whichever one you guys prefer. You guys want to talk about the Japanese market and the consoles, how there seems to be a trend where consoles just aren't selling. Hang on, I got Eli. The console trend in Japan. So Nintendo enthusiasts with the staff, we've been discussing how it seems like the console market is actually kind of dying off in Japan, and the handheld market is taking over. So that's one topic. Or do you guys want to rather discuss the personal struggles of indie development? So we all know that indie developers don't have necessarily that nice 9-to-5 life. Sacrifices are made. It's a lot more difficult than many give you all credit for. So choose your topic. Which one do you prefer? We're getting some feedback from someone there. I don't know where that's coming in from.
I believe it's Giannis.
Yeah, Yanni, can you mute yourself?
Just mute him. You can mute him. You're the host.
Yeah, I can't figure it out that quick.
All right, we're good though. I think. Why don't we talk about both? I mean, it's not like. But first off, we all know my theory on Japan. Japan is a dying home console market, and a lot of people took my video that I did. I don't know if you've seen it, but a lot of people took my video that I did the wrong way. It's not that it's a knock against Japan. It's just it is what it is. The taxes there are so crazy high that it's just people can't afford it. So that's why they're playing mobile games. That's why the 3DS and the Vita. Look at the Vita. The Vita does terrible for in every country except for Japan. It does great in Japan because it's a mobile system. It's not as priced as high as the home consoles are. Now I know I can actually turn this into a question. Yanni, you are bringing Armillo to Japan, correct?
We cannot ask Yanni any questions.
Damn it! This was going to go so well, too.
All right, Yanni, use some sign language. Go.
Yanni, give
Sounds
me
like
a
his
thumbs
mic
up,
is
'cause
broken.
you sound terrible right
Okay, we'll come back to you, Yanni. Shawn, point your finger at someone else.
I'm at a point. Well, I don't know. No one else is bringing their game to Japan, so it doesn't really work. But that's okay. Chris, are you looking at other markets? Because your game comes out, of course, next week, October 16th, ping 1.5 plus. Enjoy the cheap plug. Are you looking at any other markets besides just the U.S. market?
Yeah, I plan on releasing in Europe and also hoping to find the publisher in Japan. The reason I'm not doing Europe right now is because of financial reasons, and I need to find a publisher for Japan. Ping originally did well in the Eastern market, actually. It didn't do well in America. It did well in South Korea and Japan. That's where I got all my downloads. So it's very important to reach the Japanese market for me, because that will give me a lot of sales.
Yeah, there seems to be a trend where that market just loves difficult games. One of the games I featured, what was it, Bombing Bastards? That was like play tested somewhere in Asia. I forget the country right now. Pardon my ignorance. And I mean, it was well received. And if any of you watched my Indie Corner feature on Bombing Bastards, I found it extremely frustrating. I couldn't beat the first world boss. Yanni, go away. Your mic is still bad. Can I mute you? There we go. There we go. And as I was saying, yeah, Bombing Bastards was hard, but I mean, it was so well received. That's what people like there. So I think your game, Christopher, could do very well overseas. It's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I already have the statistics from the previous game. I don't know exactly why, because there's a language barrier there, and I had no idea where people were downloading it from on Android. Because there was about a spike of 28,000 downloads in June of last year, and I didn't understand why it happened. It just happened.
And anyone else here? Are you guys all just pretty much, I guess, North American and European markets, right? With your games?
Yeah, that's how mine is right now. It's just a North American game. I'm working on getting out in Europe, but I'll be just in tagging territories. I'll be skipping Germany because of USK costs right now, at least till next year.
Yeah, Europe is a lot more expensive to get your game age rated for than the US, so that's one step. And then Japan is like a whole other story.
Yeah, to do well in Japan, you have to already know that your game will excite that demographic there, because the Eastern and Western games are just completely different. What will do well there is not going to do well in the other. Like Call of Duty, that's not very popular in Japan at all compared to it is in North America.
Neither is Bayonetta 2, apparently.
I'm actually surprised at that. Yeah, for indies, it's really hard to take that risk, and then you also have to find translation for those markets. For Europe, it's sort of similar to North America in those demographics. So, but what mainly keeps indies out of Europe is normally the cost to get your game out there, while the ESRB will rate your game for free here if you meet certain criteria. And then also Nintendo's program is much more friendlier for North America, it seems.
We release Psyscrolr in North America, we actually are looking at doing some translation of the game and releasing it in the EU. We actually had someone tweet us saying, "Oh, you should totally translate it into Portuguese and release it in Portugal." And I'm like, "Well, it's something we can look into."
For Hex Heroes, I know that we're going to be porting to or translating to the major European languages: English, French, Italian, German, Spanish. But in terms of making it available to the Japanese market, it's really not the same process at all. You need a publisher for one, and it's a longer process. So it's going to be kind of costly, and it all depends on how sales in North America happen, and we can afford to then bring it to other nations. But I think, yeah, that's my experience about it.
Yeah, especially if you use like very specifically designed fonts for your game. When you translate it into Japanese, you can't use those same fonts. It's a whole new font set.
Yeah, totally.
That poses a new problem too. Like I would have to find a completely 8-bit Japanese font set if I were to port it there. So that will also take some time too.
Okay, so next.
Yanni, you.
Oh, right.
Well, here, let Yanni came back. Try your mic, because I want to know, because I know Circle is doing the publishing there in Japan for Armillo, correct?
Yeah, Circle C is doing our publishing, and you guys are correct. You do need to have a publisher. Actually, you need an office in Japan. So for us to actually do that and actually do customer support there is not really possible. So we partnered up with Circle C, and they've been great. They did all the localization for us. They gave us a couple of fonts. They did a bunch of testing. Like they've put in a fair bit of work for the game for it to just ship in Japan. So we're getting close. I think probably in the next month or so we should see the game there, hopefully. And Japan's a big market, right? It's an install base of 2 mil, I think. So it's a big chunk if I got my numbers right. So it's nice to be there, you know, if you can make it happen.
Now, how about any marketing in Japan? Because you know, you probably don't speak Japanese. Is Circle going to help you guys with that, or what sort of marketing are you going to do in Japan?
I don't know how much Circle is going to do. My sort of expectation is that they're just going to help us put the game out, and that's probably going to be about it. I could be wrong about this, but I don't really have any expectation of them to do marketing. We have one of our translators, Julio, is actually in Japan right now learning Japanese. So he's doing a bunch of promo for Armillo there. So we're going to have that. And there's a game show that I think happened a couple of weeks ago in Japan, if I remember correctly, that we were going to try to get to, but we couldn't get to it, of course, because we were too late. So I think I'm just hoping that some of the word of mouth from North America is going to come through and sort of filter through to Japan, and maybe if we're lucky, people there will like it. I mean, it is localized in Japanese, so hopefully that'll help.
Well, plus Japan seems to gravitate towards character games and mascots or whatever, and Armillo definitely could be a mascot with the plushes and all that cool stuff. And I'll always bother you about making Armillo plushes every time we talk because I want one for my bedroom.
I would love to make plushes. Send me a check for $10K. Because that's the starting cost to get manufacturing done, and I will make them.
So how many?
10K.
That's the starting point. If you want to make plushes, you pretty much need to have around 10K to do your first order, and then you got to store them, warehouse them, do your point of sales, all that stuff. It's like a pile of work. So yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd like to.
Sew something for him.
How many plushies are we talking about for 10K?
Can't quite remember. It's not as many as you might think.
Is it over 1,000 or?
Yeah, I think it was like 1,500 maybe or 2,000, depending on the size. Like we were gonna do like one that's about 6 to 7 inches roughly. That's what I was looking at originally. But then I remember there's quotes for like smaller ones, like like this kind of big. So I don't know. I can't quite remember. It's been a while.
It's all right. You have my full permission to take half of or just take Shawn's salary and finance that.
Also make some Halloween costumes too.
Armillo Halloween costumes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce our sound supervisor here. He's basically been supervising all my sound work for Armillo, and he's just coming by to say hello. And this guy's his brother. He's also the secondary supervisor. Oh, that's it. He's done.
Oh, Yanni, you just helped make our video viral now. Thanks for adding the cats.
Gotta have cats.
Introducing cats.
It's viral in Japan,
by
man.
a graphic artist.
Oh, we got a graphic artist here, right?
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question? I missed it.
Was there a question?
Maybe there wasn't.
I don't know. Maybe there wasn't. All right, so what are we going to talk about next?
So the next topic...
The next
topic I threw up, or put out there, and let's not go too dramatic here, but if you guys wanted to share any personal experience of indie development, I'm sure in the stream we have some viewers that are maybe thinking of getting into indie development themselves. What would you tell them, set their expectations? It's not all rainbows and gumdrops, obviously, but if you have anything too dramatic, let's try to avoid getting into anything too personal.
I would say when you release your game, don't release on the same day as 5 other people. I learned that one the hard way.
Weren't you releasing next to Armillo?
I think I was. That and Guacamole too.
To put your sales on a day that don't have a bunch of other games and other news too, right?
Yeah, I think the letter from TreeFall company was by itself, wasn't it?
Yeah, I launched it. I think with like
just
just
a week after mine too.
Yeah, It was a week after yours in Armillo.
Also the week after Shovel Knight, or 2 weeks after Shovel Knight.
Yeah, Shovel Knight came out a week before ours.
Interestingly enough, I was looking at Shovel Knight and our European numbers and North American numbers, and they're pretty much the same. So I think there's a lot of room for us. Like to me, it didn't look like Shovel Knight took any of our sales, because I would have seen a dip in North America, but not in Europe, because Shovel Knight didn't release in Europe. So I think there's a lot of room for us to get a game there. I think what's harder is to get something that gets people interested on your first trailer, makes the trailer interesting enough that people want to find out more. I think that's always the biggest challenge when you're making a game. To sort of watch a trailer and understand what's going on, that's pretty tricky.
Plus, I would say that indies don't really step on each other's feet quite the same way that AAA devs do. And with all the marketing that goes into AAA development, indies can be bought. You know, you can buy 3-4 indie games at the price of a full retail game. So it's really different marketplace.
I would say, like, going on that you could almost kind of make it analogous to like, say, like the big eShop titles, or titles released onto eShop, same date and day, are like kind of like the major league, and then that, indies are like the minor league, and people kind of see that when they go onto the eShop. They go, okay, well, what's the big name titles are there? Nintendo's got them displayed and stuff like that, and they're like, okay, what are the smaller kind of stuff released? Is there something unique there? And I really like that kind of style that they've got set up on the eShop that way.
Well, going back to the you can get a couple indie games for the price of a retail game. I actually did a video on that where I did I think it was 9 games. Was it 9? I think it was 9. Maybe it was 7. 7 or 9 games, indie games that you could buy for the price of one retail game. And I didn't really necessarily choose like the best of the best, but I tried to get games that were, very different to one another. And, there's really a great amount of diversity as far as, what you're looking for, from games like The Fall and Master Reboot to Armillo to something like Block Drop U, a puzzle game, Abyss from Enjoy Up, ZaciSa's Last Stand, Swords and Soldiers. I mean, there's so much cool diversity. And, I think this room really showcases that diversity as well, because, all of you are making games that are very different from each other. And I think, going back to the minor league thing, I think that's definitely a stigma that exists, because I will admit, 5 years ago, if you would have said, hey, check out this indie game, I would have been like, hey, piss off. Like, I just wasn't interested in that. But once I started playing indie games, I was like, man, there's a lot of good. People just kind of assimilate indie games with, just, crap for whatever reason that is. It's just kind of the stigma. But, I think the Wii U has been showing that, indie games are actually really good, and there's a great variety of them, and more people should try them. And it is nice to see, Nintendo, showcase certain games. And just like the whole, the thing they're doing at IndieCade, with the Nindies, like them getting behind the indies. I think Nintendo's finally starting to realize, hey, these third parties don't like us for whatever reason, but these smaller companies do, so we should help them out. And so that's definitely a good thing, and I really hope some of you guys in here get that benefit of being able to have Nintendo be like, hey, this is a game on my system, you need to check it out.
Now, what you were saying about the stigma of indies, I mean, that's felt everywhere. When I was actually trying to get the Indie Corner logo designed, the first thing that came back to me was 12 logos of all this like retro stuff. It looked like it was from the 80s, and I wanted it to make a point that, no, a show that represents Indie Corner doesn't have to represent the retro style, because as we were talking earlier, I think it's a fad. And I'm trying to break the stigma one thing at a time, starting with a logo.
You're the Gandhi of gaming.
Yeah, I'm not. Let's not start throwing titles around.
That can be your new Twitter handle. I think that's a good title.
Yeah, if I'm the Gandhi, what does that make Shawn here?
Satan.
We don't have to mention Shawn. He's not. I'm about to unfriend him on Facebook. I can't deal with Shawn.
No. So has anyone else received any sort of, this is just a general question, received any sort of, really bad negative feedback towards their game to the point of death threats, such as our good friend Eli at TreeFall Studios has received? Any sort of crazy experiences with that? Yanni, damn, you keep changing locations. It's scaring me. Any sort of crazy stuff like that? Even games in development, games that aren't out, Stoneshire and you guys. Have you received any sort of crazy reactions to your game like that?
Even Eli, feel free to comment on how many you got death threats, right, on your game?
Yeah, I mean, even yesterday, I got an email from some person saying how, I don't know, they thought it was the worst thing in the entire world, the game was broken, and all this stuff, how I was so stupid to release, and they wanted all their money back, and their complaint was that it was stuck on the control screen, and basically they didn't turn on the TV because there was no off-TV play. So, people just attack me instantly without even just, oh, can I have some help or anything like that? But yeah, it's kind of rough, man.
So answer this honestly: how many bricks have been thrown through your window since that game released?
No bricks yet. I'm gonna
None.
try to keep my location secret.
How do you handle that, Eli? Does it bother you at all? Does it faze you?
Not really. I mean, some people are just trying to be mean. People like to be mean sometimes, but I mean, you just gotta sift out what is hatred and what is actual constructive criticism. I mean, if you have a constructive point, then yeah, I'm gonna work on trying to fix it for you. But I mean, if you just want to tell me to die because you hate my game so much and it's the worst thing ever, then I kind of just delete the email.
I'm just jealous that they're not the ones making it.
Maybe.
Just don't want you to go all, Phil Fish on us.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I get called. I used to be related to Phil Fish all the time on Twitter, and I felt a bit insulted. I don't know why I was compared to him so frequently last year.
You're a douchebag.
Your opinion
Phil
doesn't
Fish
matter.
can be Phil Fish.
Phil Fish is crazy. I won't get started on that, but wow,
So,
come back.
Eli, what about advice on how to deal, for new developers, because everyone, the first game, they're gonna get tons of insults, even I get insults. So, what's your advice for new people to deal with that type of feedback? So you don't feel down all the time. You don't let it get to your heart. How do you avoid that?
I don't know. I got some personal things towards me and how I don't know, try to live my life. I mean, it's going to be different for everybody, but you really just gotta sift through the comments or emails. I got a lot of hate on Miiverse, a lot of hate on social media. I had people spamming me, just following me on Twitter, and then I had to block them, and then they create a new account and then keep doing it. I'm just all right. But you just really have to look and tell by either the way they're typing. I mean, if it's intelligent, or I mean, sometimes it's so hatred sometimes. And I mean, that stuff you don't really need to worry about that kind of stuff. I mean, as long as there's someone out there enjoying your game, then I mean, just look at that. Take the positive out of that. I mean, just focus on the positive more than the negative. But I mean, if there's a lot of actual constructive criticism, I got a lot, that's why I've been working on trying to fix a lot of the problems I got. You should take that into consideration, but it's just a challenge. So.
Eli, where your mic's going in and out a little. I know there's
So basically, I caught most of it. Basically, what he's saying is, just look at the positive and not the negative. And that's one of the reasons why, I dig Eli so much, is that, I have seen so many, indie developers where they release a game or they release a screenshot or something, and they just have like if people start saying negative stuff on it, like they literally just have meltdowns like on social media, and it's crazy to me, like just how like because Eli, like basically you're a kid, you're like 18, 19 years old, and like these adults are just acting like so ridiculous over it. And just like you're just like, oh, I mean, it's cool. Like, if you don't like my game, I understand. That's fine. But I'm gonna try to improve it. And just like look at like the maturity level of like Yanni was informing me. Look at the maturity level of someone like Eli versus someone like Phil Fish. Where I mean, it's crazy. Like it's crazy. And I totally respect you just for that. And a lot of people should respect you just for the way you handle your criticisms on your game.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
I think I'm going to go to bat for Phil Fish for a second here because people tend to like hurling negativity around, and you guys have to keep in mind, and you guys that are watching, that not everyone can handle that kind of negativity. And we didn't become developers so that we can become a bullseye because you guys want to throw insults at us. That's not how it works. Just because we're in the public eye and we like making games doesn't necessarily mean we're all good at critique. And especially, I mean, there's a difference between critique and just hate. So it doesn't give anyone the right to hate on anybody else. Even if you think their game is junk, that's fine. But hateful comments are sort of what create scenarios like Phil Fish and Anita Sarkeesian, if you've seen her video. So not everyone can deal with it. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It just means they're good at making games, maybe not good at dealing with negativity. So keep that in mind. Most devs are actually creative people. They're usually fairly sensitive. They're shy. They're kind of artists in their own sort of way. So it's not the same as hurling insults at some big hockey player who's used to having fights on the ice all the time.
That's a good point, Yanni.
That's a very good analogy. I do have a question from YouTube page that I think is a good question. I know Greg just touched on it in the chat. Demos for indie games. A lot of people kind of wonder why we don't see as many demos. And I want this question for both, people who have released games, Greg, who's working on a demo, Yanni, who no demo for Armillo, and then, the guys coming up. I want all you guys pretty much to answer this question. How do you feel about putting a demo out for your game? And we're going to start at the end of the line for me, which is Chris. Go first.
I wasn't even listening. I was going to skip out this question.
No, too bad.
Busted.
Demo.
Stop picking on Christopher, Shawn.
Oh, somebody else.
What do you think?
What is the question? Short.
What do you think of demos for eShop games? Oh, for your game in particular, do you think it's worth putting time and resources into creating a demo to hopefully translate into more sales?
It may be worth it, but from what I read about demos generating sales, it's very mixed. And I don't know if it would actually increase sales, or people would just download the demo, play like 3 or 4 worlds, and say, well, that's good enough, and probably not buy the game. I mean, it doesn't always generate sales.
100% agree with Chris on that. 100%.
All right.
And if I can chime in too, like if you're playing a demo to try out a game that is going to offer you 50 hours of gameplay and it's going to cost you $60, that's very different than trying a game, playing a demo for something that you would spend maybe $2-5 on. I've seen this before. Twitter, it might have been Indie Gamer Chick that said this, that demos are like suicide for indies because it pretty much shows off almost everything you have to offer, like the basic creative component of it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
I can kind of disagree with you, though, because I never bought Wooden Sensei when it came out, and after the demo, I bought Wooden Sensei. Now, was it the greatest game ever? No, but I liked what I played in the demo enough to know that I wanted to purchase it. And I know $5 to some people is much more money than $5 is to other people. So I'm kind of, in between. Like, if you want to do a demo, that's great. If you don't want to do a demo, that's great too, because I'll probably check out your game anyways. But I think, it could attract more. Let's go with Cordero next. Have you thought about doing a demo for Stoneshire or anything, or is that not in the cards for you?
It's actually, we are going to do a demo, because for this type of game, we're going to have to do one, because it will get people, hungry for, it's give a little taste of appetizer to what's to come. And, if everybody plays it, of course, this is a bossel game. So of course anyone can play it for hours without even having a full game. So you know what? That's just more talk for us. It's more social. I mean, we're gonna of course limit the world size or something, but it's still gonna hopefully be able to put forward what we're trying to do with the game, and hopefully that will get the word out and people will be like, "Yay, we want this," and, the standards.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, and I really need to clear something up here because I totally made a mistake. I called out Indie Gamer Chick for saying having a demo is suicide when it was actually the complete reverse. She said not having a demo for indies is suicide. So apologize, I'm clearing that up. Please continue.
Way to go, Jason. Way to go. Greg, you are currently working on the demo for ZaciSa's Last Stand. What spurred on that sort of initiative for you as far as wanting to create a demo?
Yeah, that's true. I just submitted it to Nintendo a couple days ago, so it's now on lot check. Basically, with my game, as anyone that's seen it, it has an image issue where they won't really know what it is until they actually play it. So since they can't actually play it, they may not actually get it. So I'm helping to create a demo to help clear it out, give people a chance to actually play it. Which I think for games like mine, where there's an issue of where people might not really know what it is, it's probably a good idea to have a demo.
Yeah, I'm with Greg in that. I don't think anyone's gonna buy Shapes of Grey for its visuals, so having a demo for that to let them play it and realize, oh, this is actually really fun, that would help a lot.
Trent, so you're planning on doing a demo?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go to Jonathan. Jonathan, are you going to do a demo for your game? And if yes, why? If not, why not?
Specifically for Psyscrolr, I'm not actually looking at a demo for the game. It was said earlier that if your game it's kind of hard to imagine how it plays from the way it looks. That might be an issue, and you might want to have a demo for. But with Psyscrolr, I mean, you look at it. I mean, most people say, "Oh, well, it looks like a platformer." So, I mean, that already gets the general interest going right there. Of course, watching the videos and stuff that I'll upload to the eShop will show people yes, there is an extra touch element to the game. You'll see it in the description and what have you. Maybe they've already been following the game. They'll be interested, of course, to get it to try out all the different cool elements in the game.
Yeah, I don't think your game is going to have much of an issue. Especially, like you said, as a platforming game, most people can see what it is when they see the visuals. It's really, when games like mine, where, all the action happens on the touchscreen, but, on the TV, someone sees a screenshot like, what's that? Why are there a bunch of circles?
Actually thinking, so Mario, for Hex Heroes, do you guys plan on doing a demo? Because that's going to be a very unique thing that it's hard to convey through trailers, right?
Yeah, it's either going to take the most informative trailer known to man or a demo. And my concern with the demo is that you have to craft a demo really well, and it can almost take a very long time depending on the message you want to get across. And so it could stall development for a month in order to make sure that the demo is tailored to hook people, because the game may not necessarily be that. In terms of an RTS, like StarCraft, those games are kind of long form. You could play them for 30 minutes to an hour, and I think a lot of demos don't exactly let you play for that long. So it would really take a lot of special care to craft a demo. It's something we'll have to decide later.
All right, now finally we have Mr. Eli, TreeFall Studios. Now, you did, kind of get a lot of bad press with certain websites for the letter. Are you thinking of doing a demo for the maze to kind of show people, hey, this is a much better crafted game, or are you hoping that you could get that through the developer commentaries and whatnot?
Actually, I think I'm going to approach this a little differently. I agree with a lot of these points made by everybody here. I think that demos might not exactly help your sales, but sometimes they will convey your game a lot better than someone to go, oh, what's that? So, like, trying to craft a well-done demo, like he was just saying, you want to put, like, some of your coolest levels, I guess, in my opinion, some of the coolest things in your game in the demo so people would, play it and be like, wow, I got to play more. But to me, I don't want to give away that kind of stuff. I want it to be secret and, like, the players actually play through the game to find out those kind of things and see how the gameplay is changing as the levels progress. So I think I am going to do a demo for Maze, and I'm going to do it kind of like Bravely Default did their demo, with having separate gameplay that is like standalone for the demo, and those levels will be just demo levels, just to convey the gameplay and how the game works, and then the actual game will release, and it will be all different levels than the demo. So if you like the demo, you can pick it up and stuff like that. And I mean, if you don't try the demo, then hey.
I think that's for you with the the bad press previously. I think it's a very smart idea. Whereas something like a game like Armillo, like you can pretty much watch the trailer and be like, all right, this game probably kicks ass, and which it does. But Yanni, I actually have a question for you from the chat room. Where did it go? Question for Fuzzy Gaming.
Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned way back that Armillo had a 6-month Wii U exclusivity before jumping to the PC. Is a PC port still planned?
Yeah, it's still in the works.
All right, I have not so much a question, more a comment here that someone is really eager for me to put out there from Rage Gamer Games. His opinion is that pretty much Nintendo needs to remove or change their YouTube policy so that YouTubers such as PewDiePie can play Nintendo games, give it more coverage, and then sell more Wii U's. What do you guys think of that? You agree or disagree?
I have something to say to that. You know what? It's the fact that like you want to. First off, the whole Let's Plays thing. Like, there's a couple people I like in the Let's Plays things, but a vast majority of them I don't really care for. And the fact that a lot of YouTubers kind of have this elitist mentality where either if we get the game for free, either if I don't get the game for free, then I'm not going to play it, or if I can't make money off my video, I'm not going to play it. Like, that's just such BS. Like just play. It's about video games. I mean, if you're trying to make your career off of this, do you ever see someone like James Rolfe, say like, oh, I can't believe I'm not getting paid for this video. Like, no, you gotta branch out. You gotta make an identity and branch out and stuff. And that's what I have to say about it. I'll leave it for the developers because this isn't an interview for me.
What's giving it away, Shawn? Who are you looking at to realize that you're going into a rant?
No one.
I see the little light bulb go off.
Shut up. Stuff like that pisses me off like a lot.
What was the question? I don't even remember.
Nintendo YouTube policy. You guys, whoops. If they change it, do you think more YouTubers would play Nintendo games? More Nintendo games?
I guess it would help. Getting more YouTubers to cover Nintendo games would be helpful. For us, we haven't had very many Let's Plays. And obviously it's not because of our policy, but if Nintendo kind of opened up that policy for first-party games, then it would just become a more common thing, and people would consider it. I think a lot of people just don't consider it, and I think market exposure is good. My friend Matt Gilgenbach just did Never-Ending Nightmares, and I looked at his top 3 videos for Let's Plays, and he's got like 5 or 6 million views. And I was like, man, I would kill for those kind of numbers. Can you imagine that? 5 million people have seen your game. And I think it starts at, at the first party, probably. and then at a third party like us. So I think it can't but help, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Yanni. I mean, that exposure is I mean, it's free exposure, and when you're talking on that large of a scale, how can you go wrong with it?
I mean, how much do you have to pay to get 5 million views, 5 million impressions on your website or on Facebook or anything else? Like, just do the math.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
But I mean, I hate to pick on you, Eli, but there was a certain Let's Play by someone that kind of, just made the letter look like a. I mean, the first time I played it, I definitely did not beat it in the 6 minutes that the Let's Play was on. But I mean, that clearly negatively impacted your game. What do you think of? And then there also was a positive Let's Play sort of thing done by a guy strictly Nintendo. So how do you kind of view the Let's Plays? Let's say just for the letter in particular.
I say go for it. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the one I know the video you're talking about, and when he replayed it in 6 minutes or whatever. I mean, sure, there's a lot of negativity coming about that, but literally no one's going to figure that out. You're not going to go through it that fast the first time. I mean, negative press is still good press. So his video got, however many views it got, I don't even remember. But I mean, all those people, even if they, hated it, some of them might be like, well, I kind of want to try that. It's only $2. That's advertising that I didn't have to worry about. I mean, tons of people just posted tons of negative things on YouTube, playing through, just, trashing it. But I mean, that didn't result in negative sales. So, I mean, I guess from my experience, I mean, it can be a good thing either way. Still, I mean, there's been a lot of positive out there, like you said, the strictly Nintendo. And there's actually a lot of people like hidden under the layers of hate that have been making plenty of good videos. And I even have one guy on my Facebook page who told me he liked the game so much that he wanted to make a fan-made video about it. And I thought he was just joking, and then this guy went and made a video, like 10 minutes long, of like he got actors and stuff around his neighborhood, I guess, and like he made a video about my game and shared it with me. And I was like, wow, dude, that's pretty cool. But, I mean, anyone who's posting anything, positive or negative, I think just, I don't know, the exposure is good. But
Hey, Eli, I was actually curious because when the letter came out, like you were saying, there was a lot of negativity, and you're thinking that's good. But do you think I'm interested in your personal opinion? Like, I know a certain website like gave really bad scores to the letter, and that kind of sparked a whole debate about quality control in the Wii U eShop. Like, do you feel like that was justified? Like, do you understand where they're coming from? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't really care about that too much. To me, I mean, I guess if you're, I felt like they did a review, and it's as your job as a reviewer is to review a game and give your opinions of it, so other people can read it and figure out what the game's about, and your complaints and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, the quality control thing really gets under my skin a little bit, because the guy that wrote that quality control thing sent me a message the day before that they were going to post it or whatever, and invited me to basically debate and defend myself in their debate. And I was like, okay, maybe. And then basically I sent him a few questions back trying to see what he was talking about, and then they never responded to me, and then they posted the article anyways. I don't know. I think on quality control, I mean, my game obviously wasn't the highest quality, and I'm working on making it better. And all future games that I work on obviously are going to have much higher quality. But I don't know. I think Nintendo does I'm not going to say a great job with their quality control, but there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes that, I don't know, that a lot of people just really don't know about. So, I don't know. I think some opinions that people have are just a little invalid, but I guess I'm not going to sit. I've lost my points.
Oh, I think we're losing you a bit there.
Eli kind of faded out. Now,
I just want to say thanks, Eli, for sharing that that honesty with us. I mean, you didn't have to, but I really appreciate that. Thank you.
oh, I know what I wanted to say. My whole stance on the, people ask about quality control and whatnot, and they want Nintendo to limit indie games, even though 4 or 5 years ago with the Wii, they wanted the exact opposite because people can never really make up their minds. But how many of you feel, if anyone could chime in on this, that it's a buyer's market? Like, if you're going to spend money on something, why not research it first to see if it's for you? Like, why would you complain about there being an influx of games that don't appeal to you, like you're being forced to buy them? That's how I think. Like, if I see something, and like if I see these Clorox disinfectant wipes and I don't like Clorox, like, I'm not going to buy them. I'm not being forced to buy Clorox disinfectant wipes. So is that kind of like, why isn't that a general consensus? Why do people have to put so much animosity towards a game that they're not forced to buy in the first place?
Reference to a specific game, or
anything? I mean, because like take for instance the letter. People legitimately were like, I can't, like, and something, anything. What am I going at here? Okay, so like the letter, some of RC Maniacs' games got the same sort of treatment where they were like, oh, we need quality control. These are like mobile games, but they're priced so low. I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into. If it's not, I don't know. I guess what do you guys here? Let's just make it simple. Do you think there should be a certain standard for indie titles in the eShop, or should it just be as it is, open market? Anyway.
I believe open market is the best way to have innovation. I mean, if they start selecting, certain genres of games to make it on there, or turn down certain ideas because they think it won't sell, I think that might actually hurt it. I don't understand the mindset that someone would complain about a game when they're not being forced to buy it. That's a really confusing concept, and I agree with Shawn on that.
I think there's, if I can chime in, maybe too open a market on Wii U. The Wii was really shut down, I think, and now it's kind of like swung completely opposite on Wii U. And so, no offense to Eli, but a game like The Letter sort of like benefits from like the Streisand effect, which is, the more people that hate on it, the more it benefits. And so you end up with like the Plaza, the Wii U Plaza, featuring games that are getting a lot of attention. And maybe if it's a lot of hateful attention, they're still up on the Plaza. And so I think it's a flawed system. I think ultimately Nintendo needs to figure out a way to, A, provide a little bit more quality assurance for their submitted games, and B, a way to promote those games then that do meet their criteria. It doesn't have to be, I mean, like, imagine like Steam Greenlight, that is effectively sort of an automated way. Valve doesn't have to really think about it. They just have sort of a community-based voting system for weeding out games that maybe don't make the cut just based on community interests,
There's lots of flaws with that system. I mean, there's tons of developers on Steam Greenlight who will give out like free games to people who vote on there. That system is not even foolproof.
And Mario, talking about like quality control, it comes down again to who is it to decide what's a quality game. Like you say, some games they get a lot of negative feedback, and if people are buying that game, whether it's a bad game or not, like to any of our standards, if it's selling and it's making money, it's a business that's actually, it's achieving its purpose of making money. So how can you argue like that game shouldn't be there just because on our standards it's not a good game, but it's making money? So how do you argue that?
Well, I just think that one of two things should happen. Either there should be more quality assurance control added, or the way that games are pushed up and promoted should be changed, which is probably the more likely and effective way. Like, again, using, sorry, Eli, The Letter, it was promoted to the Plaza purely based off of what I'm assuming was a lot of hate posts on Miiverse. And so something like you got a lot of it, like what was that game? The Kitten on Rails, Scram.
Scram Kitty on Rails, I think.
Yeah. How much Plaza time did that game see? I don't know. But the letter was definitely on the Plaza for a week, 2 weeks. That's some serious stuff. That's some serious exposure, and it isn't necessarily fair, maybe, to the Scram Kitty developer, you know.
I'm gonna just chime in real quick. I agree with you a little bit, but I mean, Nintendo sees. I mean, it's not like there isn't any quality control. They look and they can tell. I mean, they're not dumb. So like, my game might not be originally of as high quality, and while it did get a lot of exposure on the War Plaza, it wasn't all hate. It was actually a lot of people that were kind of arguing for me, and then like people arguing against me, and it's kind of like a lot of debate going on there for a while. So there was positive too. But if you look on the eShop, the eShop team, they have really knows what to promote really, and I've never seen any promotion for my games at all on their on the eShop. So I mean, like, they're choosing other developers, with, I guess I'm going to say, higher quality, games. Like I've seen Block Drop and Armillo and all these great games on the eShop, and I mean, they know who to choose. I think to really help get some extra exposure out there. I think. So I think it goes a little bit both ways, but I'm not 100% knowledgeable on that.
Well, sure. When you talk about exposure, the letter, it took 1, 2, 3 clicks to get to your game when it's on the Plaza, which is huge. That's like a huge deal. That's akin to being on the front page of Steam, as opposed to, like, you're practically invisible when someone has to search for your game on the eShop. They have to go to the eShop and know what they're looking for. You might as well be invisible. And so I don't know that their current automated system of promoting things through Miiverse, because of debate about whether it's a good game or not, is effective in a right way. That's just my Yeah,
I agree there. But you mentioned the Scram Kitty. Just when I was like mentioning with eShop or whatever, I didn't see it on the Plaza as much. But I know whenever I went to go check out that game, whenever I did go onto the eShop or whatever, they featured that over like the little tab head where the indie section was or whatever. I was like, oh, what's that? And I went and checked it out. I mean, I usually check out every game every week anyways, but so I think they got a little exposure, but I'm not. But I agree with you a little bit on the automated Miiverse.
Sorry.
You can go, Yanni.
I was just gonna say, like, as a comparison, look at XBLA. It's heavily curated. It's very, very top-down driven, and there's only a few games that get there, right? So we could go towards that kind of system where Microsoft decides what is cool, and that system is based on slots. So Microsoft looks at the available slots this week, and each slot is worth about 200 grand to them. So you're only going to get that slot if they think you're going to sell enough to generate that kind of revenue. They kind of look at it like radio singles, like there's only so much room for singles. So that's the other system, and that's, I guess, going all the way the other way, and Nintendo's, all the way to the other side. So that's your other sort of option. Or maybe we need something like Reddit, where it's all about upvotes and you can't really fake it. Maybe that's a better way to find indie games.
Yeah, I mean, the bridge on XBLA was not a pleasant experience. It really wasn't. And I think that the more consoles emulate Steam, maybe not necessarily Greenlight, but Steam is constantly rolling out new changes. In fact, they just rolled out this new curation thing, which I think the sense of community on Steam, the ability to jump in and see what your friends are playing, to follow games in that way, I think is so effective. And in other systems and on other platforms, it doesn't seem as natural to check out new games based on what my friends are playing. You know.
All right, guys, I'm just going to interrupt for a second. So we are at the official end, 2 hours, but I mean, we're not going to stop. This is going good, so if anybody wants to stick around, we're going to keep going. But I know some people are dropping. We have Cordero from Fingergun Games, developer behind Stoneshire. He has to go. Cordero, do you want to say anything to the audience before you head out?
I believe I'll say thank you for having me on, and I'll make sure to bring constant updates to show you guys better, I guess, gameplay later on, because I'm pretty much working on that this week, and hopefully I'll have something for you. So
Great.
look forward to more news.
Thanks, Cordero. I'm also going to try and hit you up with an interview so we can share that on Nintendo.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Thanks for joining, Cordero. We'll be seeing you around.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, brother.
All right. So anyone else dropping, or are you guys staying on for the after hours chat? I'm around, so I mean, you guys are all welcome to stay. Pull out the beers and stuff.
I have a question about towards Mario. Mario, you guys worked on the bridge, right?
I'm the artist for the bridge on a two-man team, but now my team on Hex Heroes is completely different. But
okay.
So, yeah, I guess.
Can you talk a bit about the experience of making the bridge and sort of putting it on Xbox and maybe the process of that? Is there some stuff you might want to share with us?
Yeah, I'd love to. Just generally, or do you have any specific?
Yeah, I mean, I played the demo. I loved it. I thought the art was beautiful.
Thanks.
I thought the gameplay was really cool. Long ago, but I'm just kind of curious about some stuff that you might want to share.
Probably. Well, I'll just start with like lessons learned, I guess. Playtesting was incredibly important, obviously. And that's because we're a puzzle game, and I probably will never attempt another puzzle game in my life, or do anything that's black and white. It's color all the way from now on. But in terms, I think our biggest downfall was marketing, and that we didn't spend enough time on it. And I think this affects indies a lot. Is they like doing what they do, which is content creation, and most, if I could make this claim without being crucified for it, most indies don't know anything about marketing. I certainly didn't. I don't know the first thing about reaching out to people. This is why there's entire firms devoted to AAA publishers and developers. But it falls on the shoulders of indies, and it's not entirely natural, or it doesn't come naturally. And so we thought that by going to every contest we could, IndieCade, we were part of IGF, at GDC, that would generate enough media, enough press. But it doesn't. And in fact, you know, being looked at GDC for 1 second, that 1 second is gone in the eyes of like the masses, you know, who consume the games. So when we when we finally nailed down a release date, we only had about 2 weeks of time where the game was done and the release date was chosen, and that's not enough time. You need to spend at least 2 months on pure marketing, nailing down an embargo with press sites and ensuring that review copies are handed out with plenty of time to review. We did too much post-release begging people to review the game, and so if you actually look at our Metacritic, there's reviews all over the board. I mean, like in terms of like when they came out, a month later, 2 months later, and our release day, we had nothing before the day of release, and that's something that a lot of press outlets don't like doing. They don't like posting reviews after the game's been released because it just doesn't bode well for exposure, and that was probably our biggest mistake. Never make that mistake again.
I had someone on our team at some point mention that, well, we're going to be out on Nintendo, so we don't have to worry about marketing. To which I was just started to pull out my hair. So yeah, that's a really good point. I'm just looking at your Metacritic. You guys got 76, which is nice. How many reviews did you guys get overall? Do you know?
It's different on Xbox versus PC. I think I think we got like 20 reviews on PC, maybe. Hang on, I can look it up. But again, we didn't have a universal launch either on PC and Xbox, and that's partly because XBLA is so, pardon my French, but just a bitch. It just, it's really hard to appeal to, or to fall to, what do I want to say? They make you jump through a lot of hoops. Xbox wanted an exclusive.
I think if you guys don't know, watch Indie Game the movie, and Team Meat Boy pretty much talks about how Microsoft deals with launches, and that'll give you everything that you need to know if you don't know. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right. So XBLA, we went to Indiecade, and that was the first Indiecade 2011. That's when we first debuted the game. And we had Sony come to us, we had Microsoft come to us. They liked what they saw, but Microsoft said to us, the game will not get on XBLA without a publisher, which was kind of ridiculous because why can't we self-publish? And we didn't need any more support from a publisher. And B, they said the time of grayscale puzzle platformers is over. We want microtransactions. Or they asked, how can the bridge be made multiplayer and add microtransactions? And I just wanted to pull my hair out because, did you look at the game? That's not what it is. So we obviously went to Steam first because there just weren't any hoops to jump through. And in doing so, we kind of forego the benefits of being on XBLA, which is, yes, there's downsides, such as the exclusivity period. You have to cater to their whims, but they do promote you for longer. It just wasn't worth it in the end for XBLA to do what they wanted.
Mario?
Yeah.
Before you guys decided to go XBLA, and we were there in the same boat and basically pulled out very happily, did you look at the numbers of other games and sales and successful games versus sort of nobodies?
Yeah, I think XBLA games tend to do well by the rigorous process in which you have to get on there. The only game I really researched was Limbo because a lot of people were comparing the bridge to Limbo. But the Limbo sold like, oh my gosh, like so many copies. I forget the number, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we talked to a lot of people in town, and basically the consensus around 2012 was that XBLA is just not working. There's not enough sales. I mean, you put out a great game, and maybe if you're lucky, you get like 5,000, or you look at games like Shank 2 that were awesome games that sold like 150,000 copies, which is nothing for that game because I know how big their team was. So overall, you start building this kind of idea of, okay, it costs X number of dollars to develop because that's a really tight platform and it needs a lot of quality. But the chance of you recouping even, a tenth of your money is so small that maybe you don't want to go there. And that's how we felt when it didn't work out for us. I was like, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter.
Right, and we actually began development of the bridge for the purpose of being on XBLA.
Same here.
We started in XNA.
Yeah, same.
Microsoft's baby, and by the time we were ready to release, like just even on PC in 20, has it already been 2 years? 2012, 2013. I mean, Microsoft had taken XNA pretty much out back and shot it in the head. I mean, and I was so upset. Xbox One does not support XNA, for example, and so this game that we had we now have to port to Unity just to get it on a Microsoft system. They didn't really show much love for our initial loyalty.
That's what we had to do. For those of you guys that don't know, we started in XNA, had it running on the Xbox, then ported it to Unity, which took like, 4 months.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, we're good to go. But we pretty much went through exactly your path, except we didn't launch on XBLA.
Well, I mean, you're not missing out, I don't think, really. I think it was dying in 2012, and it's probably dead now.
Yeah, I think in terms of numbers, and it's not just numbers, it's the hoops that you need to jump through, which are massive, and you need a publisher, right? Because guess who's going to be your publisher? Microsoft. And if they don't like your game, then you have to find another publisher, right? So you have to give somebody a big chunk of everything so that you can just take their slot, which I was talking about earlier. So
yeah, we were pretty upset about having to turn to a publisher, which would take a large cut just to be on the shop. That's all we needed.
Are you guys going to do anything else with the bridge now?
It's so it's been ported to Unity, and that's how we're on Mac and Linux.
Oh, sweet.
Right now we're in the process of porting to PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U. I'm
Sweet.
really stoked about Wii U because I can't wait to make stamps.
Congrats. I hope. I think you'll do well on the Wii U because it's quite unique. I don't think I've seen anything like that on the Wii U.
Thank you. I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm a little disappointed that 3DS doesn't support Unity. It just seems so weird that they
RAM. Unity EXE needs about 128 megs of RAM. 3DS is like what, 64 megs? So
what about the new 3DS? Do we have specs on that?
Well, the new 3DS might have it.
Nope.
Yeah, Unity adds a lot of like unnecessary things running in the background to help make that game run. So I can understand why 3DS support really isn't there for it. It's like a wrapper basically for your game.
Yeah, and the new 3DS is like 128 megs of RAM, and you actually get access to, I don't know, 110 or something. So yeah, it's a non-starter.
Hey guys,
Unfortunately.
sorry to change the topic a bit. There's a bit of a discussion going on in the chat on YouTube here. Do any of you have any insight on how larger sites reviews indie games, like how they select which indie game to review?
I'd love to know the answer to that because none of the larger sites have reviewed us.
They don't.
Like,
Yeah, I never even tried. So, and I know Mike has not had any luck either from Aussie. However you say his company name, the Block Drop U guy.
Do I need to go on a mini rant here? Because I could totally go on one without making anyone mad. All right, here's the problem.
I think they pick the games based on like the exposure they get and the level of popularity, and that they don't waste.
No, but it's sort of. But see, a big site like that is going to create popularity. Like I mean, look at Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's a great game. I love Shovel Knight. But the amount of press it got from the big websites, I feel, is not justified, in my personal opinion.
Hold up, Shawn. Shovel Knight was a special case because it was kind of the proud banner child of Kickstarter. It's like, this is how you make a successful Kickstarter. It was a success story. And IGN or big sites, jumped on that.
I'm not talking about just IGN. I'm talking about all the big sites. All the big sites were like, oh, Shovel Knight's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Shovel Knight's a great game, but it's a 2D retro platformer, which, it's not that big of a deal. And there's a lot of other games, a lot of other great games on the Wii U eShop that deserve games like Armillo, games like Master Reboot, Cube Men 2. Those games should be getting the same sort of press, at least something. Like, throw them a bone. Like, let's be honest, the Wii U market isn't that, the games, as far as retail games, it's not that big of a market. So what are the Nintendo reviewers for these websites doing besides twiddling their thumbs or whatever? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you don't have to cover every game. I completely understand that, but cover something. Like, what's the point? Why wouldn't you want to? If you have a game that you can review, why wouldn't you want to review it? I mean, at least throw them a bone or something. And that's why Nintendo Enthusiast is the best, because we cover it all, baby. But I don't know, that it's just, but that sort of also kind of translates to the whole the industry look on Nintendo. Like, it's more fun to report bad news on Nintendo or make crazy assumptions than it is to report good news. Kind of like an article that I shared with Jason probably a week or two ago. It was about how someone from a large website went to play Mario Kart 8 and there wasn't as many players as there had been. But, let's not factor in the fact that, the game's been out for a couple months now. Let's not factor in the fact that at the time this article was released, Hyrule Warriors just came out. Let's not factor in the fact that, hey, DLC's coming up, which is going to reinvigorate the game. Let's just run an article that reaches, hundreds of thousands of people saying that, hey, there's no one playing Mario Kart 8, which is bull, because I'll pull out my Wii U right now and play a bunch of people online. So, it's sort of a stigma against Nintendo. And I'm not saying that as a Nintendo fanboy or whatever, because I'm not. If anything, I'm a Sega fanboy, Sega for life. But, I have all the systems, I play everything. I would just like to see everything covered with, equal equal standards, basically equal standards. Like I don't know. That's just me. I mean, I could just be a crazy old dude, but whatever.
No, it's fair. I mean, we all know the Nintendo stigma. Like, all the news sites love to jump on Nintendo. Like, honestly, what online game is not gonna quiet down after launch? Like, why run an article about? Like, are you gonna do that for every game? 2 months after a game with online support comes out, oh, it's more quiet. Well, duh. Obviously, it's called trend. Every game does it. Like.
Yeah, I heard Titanfall's already down. And I thought Titanfall would go forever.
Titanfall had problems 2 weeks after launch because to play the single player campaign, you had to play it online, and there was no one playing the initial first few stages, so people couldn't find matches to play the game. And it's like, why? I don't know. Like, it's crazy to me just how they pick and choose. And that also brings in the whole Gamergate thing, which we're not going to get into because that's just a whole beast in and of itself, and
yes,
I don't really, it's a whole crazy thing. But I mean, the one thing I will say about it is, like, people are surprised that big websites pick and choose things based on certain criteria. Like, really? Like, I don't know. That's weird that it comes as a shock to me. But I would just like to see, I would like to see equal coverage. Like a game like Hex Heroes should have something on IGN. A game like Armillo should have something on IGN. CubeMen 2 should have something on IGN. Ping 1.5 plus should be nowhere near any big website whatsoever. It should be on user blogs only. I'm just kidding, Chris. But I mean, it's stupid to me. It's stupid to me how it's all worked out.
You're not kidding, but I forgive you.
Well, Shawn, I mean, yeah, it's a big thing. I mean, it's that Nintendo stigma, like what Jason was talking about. But I think it's rooted in what Chris was talking about. These websites, the bigger websites, they have to cover a lot of topics. And you said yourself, they have Nintendo reviewers and stuff like that that review that stuff, and they know that they can't cover lots of Nintendo articles because the general audience wants to see the stuff that's based on what's really popular. It's the trend stuff. So they only want to see, stuff about Destiny, or they want to see stuff about maybe Hyrule Warriors because it's out right now, right? And the smaller stuff, they can't really cover that because they just don't have either the time, or they don't have the advertising space, or maybe even advertisers themselves have worked with the websites to try to get them to not do that. And that's what makes sites like Nintendo Enthusiast awesome, because you guys don't have to kowtow to that type of advertising. You don't have to slot yourselves to say, okay, we can only write about Hyrule Warriors, and we have to display the entire site with Hyrule Warriors background, and then there's nothing we can do about indies or anything like that. It's great. The other thing about Nintendo games getting coverage, and especially indie games in general, is they either have to have big buzz, or they have to have like a good lead up, and also it is possible that they may get more exposure if they're coming out on other platforms. So it allows other websites to cover that game, even if it's not necessarily just Nintendo exclusive, and allows other people to say, oh hey, it's on Wii U too, I might actually buy that on that. So that for example, Shovel Knight, that's why they got so much they got so many views, because they were able to say, okay, we're coming to PC, we're coming to 3DS, and a lot of people were like, oh, it looks like regular NES games. That's the biggest hype that it got for it, was the fact that they paid attention to how NES style scrolling works and all that attention to detail. That was the biggest thing they got. Now in terms of the letter, going ahead, just right there. That's the reason why that got so much view, especially on the Wara Wara Plaza, was because of the amount of negative initial backlash against it, because it allowed people to raise a stink over what are the standards that Nintendo can do to put out games on the eShop, and it allows people to create a conversation where there was none, which technically is a good thing, I mean, and for games in general, I mean, for the letter, yeah, Mario, he got a lot of, a lot of press, just from that. But I mean, it's on us as developers to either come up with a concept that is compelling for people to play, or you can go towards the route of creating a game that is controversial, because on Nintendo's platform, it either has to be one of those two as an indie for people to pay attention to us, and that's basically how we have to do it.
That was very informative, and I mean that's cool. And I know, I'm having a little sidebar chat with Indie Gamer Chick on the chat, and she's saying, well, it's a business, and I understand that it's a business, but at the same time, I don't think. I mean, all right, let's look at this. I work for a Nintendo website, and there are some days when, I mean, there's really not a whole lot of news to cover. And so on days like that, you kind of have to go out and look for smaller stories. So I can't imagine a Nintendo-centric site having trouble finding Nintendo news compared to a big conglomerate like IGN, which half the time doesn't even report on, medium to small stories. Like, I just don't see what they're almost doing with their time. And that's not a knock against the IGN writers themselves. I'm sure they're great people. I don't know any of them personally, but I'm sure, they're all great individuals. But that's more of a knock against the higher-ups at IGN like I saw yesterday, IGN released a video with some twins talking about porn. And, like that's cool. Like, I like porn. I like twins. But I'm not going to a video game website to get stuff like that. I'm going to a video game website to get video game stuff. So, I don't know. It's just weird to me how
it's all about marketing. It's a business. They need click-through. They need something to grab headlines.
Yeah, but as Shawn was saying, they have Nintendo-focused writers. They have a Nintendo team. Like, what were they writing about between Mario Kart 8 and Hyrule Warriors? Like, what were those people doing every day?
Repost.
Are they shifted to other platforms, or what are they doing?
It's possible that those writers are moved to help with other stories or researching other stuff on the other side. It's possible that they do that. So, I mean, and they also can look and see, well, the Nintendo part of our website only gets about 10,000 views, while the PlayStation 4 part of our website gets 100,000, so we don't really necessarily need to write very many articles because we're not going to get as many clicks in the first place.
I have a, not to name drop IGN or anything, but me and my friends check that out a whole lot, and I kind of agree with Shawn, because every day you can go there and the news doesn't change at all. They hardly ever write any stories about anything smaller. I know that I don't have the greatest game in the pocket to kind of reach out to them and be like, could you give me a review? But I've tweeted on every single dude that works there and no response. But I mean, like, they do stuff in their spare time. I see they repost videos. They do like Nintendo voice chats and stuff like that, and they talk about just like random old Nintendo stuff like every day, like once a week, and then they like repost the same videos like spliced, like to fill out the whole week. So they just they don't pick up on like smaller stories. They just pretty much worry about what Nintendo is doing or what they've done in the past. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, but I really like it too.
Well, I mean, everyone's gonna have a different opinion on it, and it could just be shuffling people around. But I would like to see more. But yeah, it is what it is. Luckily, there are other websites such as our own and other Nintendo-centric websites that do the best we can to get the worded Nintendo indies out there. So
what I will tell you is that Game Trailers is actually a lot of the people who work there are very heavily Nintendo enthusiasts. Like, they really want to see Nintendo succeed and pull out some really cool games. Like trying to think. Kyle Bossman. Yeah, he's super into Nintendo games. Like, if you ever watched any of his videos, he will always talk about, like, I'm really excited about what Nintendo's doing, and I'm really hoping that, especially after this year, going into next year, when they release the new Zelda U game, and, you know, it's going to be open world, and it's going to bring a lot of people to buy it. Like, for example, with Super Mario 3D World, when that came out, and I frequent the NeoGAF forums often, and like almost every day, people were saying, like, oh, I bought a Wii U just for Super Mario 3D World. Oh, I bought a Wii U just for Super Mario 3D World. There were so many threads being made, like, every day, just saying, oh, I just picked up a new Wii U, and a lot of times I'm just going, like, well, where were you? You know, and that'll happen with Zelda U, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. We have another dev here who's heading out. Okay, maybe not. So I'll keep commenting. I think, Jonathan, you're right. And I think you'll find a lot of people, like in our age group, I'm assuming we're all fairly the same age, are all going to be Nintendo fanboys at heart, because that's what we grew up with. And if you weren't Nintendo fanboy, well, you were a Sega fan, and, you know, well, they're not around really as a console maker. So to say that, you know, we're all Nintendo fans, I think you're going to find that a lot in our generation. Oh, did he leave, or is he coming back?
No, he came back. Bring back the 32X. The 32X was a great system, and now for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to talk about some 32X games.
Shadow Squadron is one of the best games for it, I think. I love that game.
So we had Tempo, which was very underrated. It was a very cool 2D side-scroller game, Tempo. And Virtual Fighter. It had freaking polygons, and it played really well. It was ugly, but it played really well. And that's my 32X segment. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, I wish I could show off my game collection like that, but do you guys want to hear a very sad story? So when I started Indie Corner and everything, I figured it'd be cool to have all my old games and bring them back. So I had lent them to my brother, who's 6 years older than I. Went back to my hometown, like, hey, yeah, you know, all those games you were holding on for me, I'd want them back. So I had a Nintendo collection, my Sega Genesis, and maybe 50 games. And he just looked at me like blank. He's like, what are you talking about? I sold that. And that was around a big family dinner, so it was a very quiet, sad moment as I realized my entire childhood got sold online for $200.
Ouch.
Ow.
You asked me if I wanted to hear a sad story, but you didn't give me a chance to say no.
Yeah, no, I needed to get that off my chest. Like, no one here understands around me, you know? They're like, it's just games.
You know, I sold my whole game collection to pay rent. I don't have any of my old stuff anymore. I made about like 300, but I had to pay rent. I couldn't keep, you know, missing bills.
Yeah, any gems that you lost in there? Like how
I had every single Nintendo console, but now I only have just the Virtual Boy as like my keepsake. I don't have the NES, the Super Nintendo, the 64, my NES, Game Boy Advance, SP. I don't have any of that anymore.
Oh, that's sad.
Well, I kept the Virtual Boy because no one locally would buy it, and to ship it, it'd be kind of spendy, so it's not really worth it.
Shawn actually chose a Virtual Boy as a child over, what was it, Shawn? Was it a Sega Saturn that you passed up for the Virtual Boy?
That's a good one.
A Sega Saturn and a PS1. I chose a Virtual Boy, and I don't regret it at all. It was weird because, like, I was... No, fuck. I mean, hell no. This was top dollar. Like, this was top dollar. It was paid for. So, like, my family was like, okay, whatever. But no, it was weird because I was coming off a Sega Genesis, and, like, I don't know, for some reason, I just I thought the Virtual Boy was cool. I'm just kind of weird like that, though.
What's Greg? What's Greg hiding behind him there? He was panning his camera. Let's see that trophy case.
A couple of years ago, I already started collecting a lot of stuff.
What?
A whole bunch of games I have. Super Nintendo.
Oh, you even got the Club Nintendo Luigi figure.
Yeah, I did. I even got the coin. Now, this is only half my collection. You know, the new games, and I have like other stuff upstairs.
They're making me jealous.
That's the S. Did you? That's the SP I sold. I wouldn't be surprised if you stalked my eBay and bought it.
No, I've had this for a while. Did you have the box?
No.
Yeah, that's right. Biznatch. I got a box.
Oh. If you want, you can send it to me, and I'll sign it. I'll sign the LCD screen for you.
Yeah, right. Piss off. There's a really cool retro game shop in my town. You know, I've been watching. We're getting so off topic. I've been watching. Have you ever watched Game Chasers? I just started watching that show. It's like American Pickers for video games. It's a very good show. They got a bunch of series. I mean, it's been around forever, but I've never really watched many YouTube channels. But good show. Shout out to Game Chasers. I like that show.
Yeah. So what
I would love that.
You're looking at everything I've got left on my wall in Indie Corner. Basically, the Wii and the Wii U collection.
Jason, I remember you did there's a video somewhere with you, or maybe it's just a screenshot with you with like a ton of games around you. It was like a room that was full of games.
Yes.
Store.
That was the launch of Indie Corner in a local store here in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
An awesome store. They actually reopened a new location last month. Last month. I wanted to do a special there for them to like a lot of room. But yeah, it's an amazing place. If you're ever in Toronto, it's the place to go for a gamer.
Cool. Well, on that note, I gotta run. It's been nice chatting with you guys. Hopefully we can do it again. And if anybody needs to get a hold of me, at Armillo Game on Twitter. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. And all the best with everybody's endeavors. Thanks for having me.
All right, broski. Later. See ya. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And now we're going to talk about the Game Gear. Game Gear was a system that I owned as a child, and it was cool. I really liked it. I have Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in here with a Game Genie. I have a good variety of Game Gear games. NBA Jam, Lemmings. Let's see what else. Oh, I got Shinobi.
My God,
I wonder if any of these games are worth money.
It's like visiting your.
Are games?
Force on the Game Gear was actually really good.
I don't know.
Let's see here. We got
some games. I have several Saturn games. I'm off like hundreds of dollars right now.
You know what sucks? Super Nintendo games, man. I'm trying to like build a collection, and it's like, hey, if you want this game, like, give us a pint of blood, a sperm sample, and $500. It's like, what? Like, this is a common ass game. Why am I gonna have to pay so much for the cartridge? Super Metroid is like $60 on eBay, like all day. I'm just like, what? Get out of here. Pisses me off.
I'm sorry. That sounds really awful. I am so sorry for you, Shawn. You want to talk about it some more?
Hang on.
I do.
Before we get into
childhood issues.
Childhood issues with Shawn. Jonathan, I think, needs to go. He's got a Psyscrolr video to wrap up, right?
Yeah. Tomorrow, you should see the Sage-Scroller tutorial series. Part 2 will be on the enemies of Psyscrolr. It'll be out tomorrow, so take a look for that. And thanks, guys, for inviting me to the Indie Corner Live. It was great chatting with you all.
Thanks for coming, Jonathan.
Thank you for joining us.
To see you again in a future installment.
See you, Jonathan.
Take care.
Yeah.
Definitely. Later, guys.
Later.
I'm trying to think what other fun stuff I have.
All right, we'll just move on to someone else.
What
are you guys all playing these days?
Collection. I have over like 25 unique systems.
Are we getting
Super
the tour?
Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS is what I'm playing.
Yep.
That's
I refuse to buy
the popular answer. That's gonna be everyone.
I'm not buying that. I'm not playing that, actually. I refuse to buy 3DS Smash.
Oh.
I have not bought it either, Mario.
I don't want to screw up my scroll pad, and I also want to keep productivity up.
Yeah, it's a bad game to get when you want to be productive.
The only people who are breaking the analog, I think, are when they push down on it and try to use it like an analog stick. Like if you just flow with it, it's fine. Like
The
look,
rubber part came off fine.
look how rough I'm being with this. Like, oh,
I'm really gentle on it, but mine still came off surprisingly. The rubber pad came off. I can still use it.
Did it
'Cause
really?
I don't know how it came off. I'm not even. I'm not aggressive when I play games.
Is it a first? Is it a standard?
Yeah, it's the
3DS
very
or 3DS
first one.
XL?
It's the very first one.
Well, that's why. Old.
You're
Upgrade,
old.
son. I am old. God almighty.
I am
I'm
waiting for the
Pringle.
new Nintendo 3DS to come out before I upgrade.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are.
I wish it'd come out soon because I'd buy it for myself as a Christmas present. You know, because I buy my own stuff.
I'm worried about transferring Animal Crossing. Does that transfer the save file when you transfer to a new 3DS?
Yeah. It copies your whole system and puts it on the other system, and then your old system will be like it never existed. It'll be brand new again.
Okay, because I know you couldn't back up Animal Crossing as a save file, and so that's what I was worried about.
Yeah, it backs up. It copies over everything.
All right, guys. So it's 2.5 hours. So if anyone wants to watch this, I think we're gonna bring it to an end here for the live segment. So again, thanks everyone for attending. Thanks for all the developers for showing up and sharing your stories, insights, opinions, all that. Thanks for everyone for asking questions. We will definitely be doing more of these. I would love to, and bring in different developers. We're gonna try and keep doing this over and over. So again, thanks for all your support. And you can watch this again if you only caught a part of it. It's going to be posted on the YouTube channel. So once we take this off, I think it goes up immediately. And then see you guys on Monday on the weekly wrap up. So I'll hand it off to the devs if you guys want to say final words.
Wait, hold on. Saturday is the damn week in review. Let's not forget that. But yes, thanks everyone for joining us, and to the devs.
Yeah, nobody watches that. All right, Eli, you're up if you want to say anything.
Make sure to watch the Week in Review. It's the best show ever.
You are never coming back into an Indie Corner live.
Your shows are both awesome. But yeah, thanks everybody for chatting. Thanks for having me. It was super fun. You can hit us up on our Facebook or Twitter page to keep up with what we're doing in TreeFall. It's just Facebook/TreeFall Studios, and Twitter is at TreeFall Games. So yeah, we've been posting a lot of stuff. Thanks for anyone who's watched this. It's a long time, but thanks guys.
All right, Trent, you're up.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for having me. I know I didn't really say anything, but you can follow me at secret_tunnel if you want to see more news on Shapes of Grey and updates for when that's coming out and how it's coming along. And yeah, thanks. This was fun. Let's do it again.
Mario.
Thanks for having me. I had fun chatting with you guys. I'll do this whenever you guys want, essentially. You guys do this often? Is this the first live stream for Indies?
This is the first official one. We had a kind of a fake one led by Shawn in pre-E3.
All right, well, whatever. If you guys want to fit me in. But yeah, be sure to check out Hex Heroes at hexheroes.com. Follow Prismatic Games at Prismatic Games on Twitter. And I'm Raccoon on Twitter. I'm a little political, so I might rub people the wrong way. But thanks for having me on, guys.
No worries, Mario. All right, Greg.
Thanks for having me. This has been very fun. Hope people have been enjoying this. If you want to follow me, just search for me on Twitter. It was my name, Greg Wiggerton, or as my company, it's Zenfa Productions. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Greg. And finally, Christopher, you get the last one.
You guys are very welcome for having me. Be sure, anyone that's watching on October 16th, be sure to buy my game, ignore the others, buy 10 copies each. And this Saturday, RC Mediax will be streaming my game with his levels. Everyone should attend. There is some free early game codes that'll be given out during the stream too. So, and as always, you're welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Christopher. We couldn't have done it without you. All right. See you, everyone. Until next time.
Later.